Hey everyone, we are back with another episode of Sequester Mini to talk about all things Sequester Mini, specifically last night's Mini. Louie, how are you doing today?
I am phenomenal. As the kids say on Twitter, I may get this wrong. We're eating this weekend. There's lots of content. We're eating.
I've never seen any kids say that. But
I've seen it. I've seen it a lot. We're being fed. Yeah, that's what they say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds.
Yes, something like that.
We are being fed. That's
We're
right.
fed.
We've been fed a lot. Last night's Mini was something. Did you have any thoughts?
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I think, any Sequester content is good Sequester content. I think we had, yeah. And we had, one of the funniest moments, I think, and we'll definitely go into that earlier on, that I was cracking up, and it's I'm hard to make laugh. I'm a pretty serious guy, but I was cracking up watching this. And then also we had another mini Sequester scandal, which is always fun. I'm always here for the scandals, always here for the drama, and it kind of went from the game to outside the game, and there was all lots to talk about that. So I'm definitely happy to get into that.
Let's get into it then. So let's go ahead and bring in our guests for today's episode, who's going to be dissecting everything that happened last night. I'm going to be bringing them in. You know her from her hilarious intro, and you know her from maybe anything else that she does. If you knew her prior to this, I didn't, but I'm excited to follow her and see what else she does. We have Chelsea joining us.
Hello.
Hi, Chelsea.
Spoiler alert, I do nothing else. So It's like I'm a baby. This is the first thing that I've ever done that's like outside of my comfort zone of just sitting on the couch. So
well, you're only going to go up from here then.
Thank you.
And I have to say, your room is looking much brighter today. The daytime is helping.
Yes, the daytime is helping very much. I've got no lamps. Somebody buy me lamps.
Yeah, right. You said you're in a college dorm where they only provide you with like a certain amount or something, or?
Yeah, I'm in a 4-person apartment. In our living room, we have 2 very old, they look like I would have bought them at an antique show or something. Just 2 lamps. It does not help. You can see nothing.
We need to petition for a daytime weekend Sequester Mini, so you can actually shine,
Yes, my glowing.
Natural sunlight Mini.
There you go. Joining us next, we have someone who you know him, you love him, you love to hate him, maybe. We have Andy joining us.
Oh my God, you have that guy on tonight? He was the worst. He sucks.
Is that your impression of the audience?
Apparently. Hey, audience, love you.
And bringing up the rear for now, we have third place from last night's Mini, the very well-spoken, very impressive. I want him to come back for redemption. I want all of you guys, but of course. Alex W. joining us. Alex, how's it going?
Good. How about you?
Can't complain one bit. We will have Cameron joining us a little later on. That is not a lie. I did not clickbait you all. She was only available for a certain period of time, so she'll be joining us around the mid-game, and hopefully we can get a major chunk of the game discussion done with her. But for now, we have these lovely people. How's everyone doing today? I know you guys all said you're still kind of
exhausted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exhausted. I feel like I ran a marathon.
The day after the Mini, is it's really a good rest day. Mm-hmm.
I feel like I walked a marathon on my hands. Like, I don't know about you guys, my shoulder blades are like burning, and they have been for the last 12 hours.
I had jelly legs like as soon as I stood up the first time. I was like, okay, we're going to the floor. We're not doing this.
See, I feel like I needed to stand up all night because my butt was so sore from sitting. I literally had to stand. It was awful. But it was fun. It was a blast.
I actually brought my dining room table into the living room so that I could sit in this comfy chair. I moved it back, which is why I'm at a different angle, but I needed to be comfortable.
We're smart.
So before we get into the actual game talk, Louie touched on at the intro what he and I considered to be one of the funniest moments that we've seen in a Mini, and I would like to play that clip for you now. So in Sequester Mini, it's a stressful game. These players can attest. You in the chat who have played can attest. There's a lot of factors, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of random what ifs that really throw the game out of whack. And sometimes the only way to cope with the stress is to drink. And last night we had a fair amount of that.
Yeah.
Mainly involving Sequester 3 live season alumni Drew. I don't know if he's watching or if anyone knows Drew. Drew, you were something last night. It was a lot of fun. You had me and a lot of the people in the chat dying. And I would like to now play the only clip we're going to show today, which I think is a pretty great one. This is the clip from the safety pass-off round, in which the players, one by one, are given the power of safety, and they in turn have to put safety onto another player. Drew did not understand what the twist was. Thought it was a typical vote round. Didn't understand the mechanics of what was going on, and more or less had a meltdown. And we're going to watch that now. Oh, hold on. I got to get the audio playing. Give me just 1 second. All right, let's... All right, here we go, everyone.
3 out of 6 of the people we were throwing our votes. So Cameron, I threw Drew's name out, but simply because we had 3 out of 6 of the people we were throwing our votes. So Anthony went. I was in a room.
What's the name?
There is no name. It's literally
Hunter. Drew.
Cameron, I am not
Drew.
after you.
I
am
not.
not.
Okay, I'm done. Fuck you, Hunter. No, so it's like it's me. So it's me.
There's no vote.
There's no vote. It's saving people. If one of y'all need to be safe.
Hunter, we're good. I'm sorry.
I'm not after either one of you. I swear on my life.
Fuck you and fuck you. What do you mean? No, we're not good. We're not fucking
Drew,
good.
settle the fuck down. Settle the fuck down. Take a drink with me. Drew, listen to me. Cameron said my name because I said yours in a group of randoms. I'm not after you and Cameron. I'd much rather get third to both of you.
I don't care what the fuck you're saying right now.
Go try to remain safe with people. You need to get someone to save you.
What do you mean I am someone to save me? I am safe.
No, you're not.
Well, fuck you, Hunter. Keep me safe then. Keep me safe.
I can't. It's whoever's the last safe is gone. Dude,
I am safe.
No, you're not. You're going home.
Fuck you.
You're going home.
Fuck you. No,
you're going
Hunter.
Home.
So
you're so going home, Drew. Drew, you're going home.
Don't make sure Hunter goes home.
Where's my popcorn? Hunter's already safe.
Chelsea, Drew is going.
How was Hunter safe? How was Hunter safe?
Go.
He's got an S on his name.
Drew, you need to go to pain or else you're going home.
Where's my name?
Drew, you're going home.
No, I'm not going home. Brittany S. on everything. Brittany S.
Brittany
S. No way.
You gotta find her.
Brittany S.
Wait, what happened?
Hunter, I'll fucking
Is there? Did she?
Chelsea.
What's happening?
Chelsea.
Guys, we are at room limit.
Brittany.
We are at room limit. 2 people need to go.
Right now.
One more person needs to go because we are at room limit. Drew, you're temporarily muted.
Drew, here's the thing. I'm gonna give it to Brittany S. She's gonna give it to you.
Yes, I swear.
We will win.
Not over the line.
I have absolutely no idea what any of that means, but I already know Chelsea Brittany S. will win. Fuck Marquise. How about that?
Oh, Marquise will win.
What do you mean he saved? Why fuck him? He saved me.
I have no idea.
Well, Drew, here's my question. If I give it to you, will you give it to Brittany?
Yeah, I will do whatever it takes to win.
Hunter here.
Fuck Hunter! Fuck Hunter!
Needs to leave
Fuck Hunter!
because we are
Fuck
at
Hunter!
room limit.
No way Hunter wins!
We are at
No way
room
Hunter
limit.
No way Hunter wins! There's no fucking way Hunter
Drew,
wins!
you're going home. You're going home,
There's no
Drew.
fucking way Hunter wins! There's no fucking way Hunter wins! There's no fucking way Hunter wins!
You're going home.
There's no fucking way Hunter wins!
Drew, shut the fuck up. You need to go.
There's no fucking way he wins!
Drew,
There's no fucking way this fucking ass clown wins! He's already won once! There's no fucking way! I guarantee.
Dude, shut the fuck up.
There's no way.
Drew, why are you here?
I'm telling you, there's fucking way he wins.
Look at me.
No way.
Drew?
I'm telling you right now, there's no way that Hunter Ince
Drew, you're
wins
losing it.
any
You're losing
fucking
it.
way.
You're losing it. I'm just gonna say you need to go talk to people. Talk to people right now, or else
I
you're
will.
gone this round.
I
You were
will.
gone this round.
I
Leave this
will.
room right now.
I
Go
would
help
love
people,
to.
or you're gone.
I would love to. would
I
love
have
to.
you. Shut up and go. I
No
have
way.
you.
I win. No way.
Then win. Go.
Okay, the chain has ended.
God.
Alex received safety from Brittany, and Alex gave safety to Drew, but his safety has been intercepted by Cameron, making her safe, and Drew has been eliminated.
Wow.
What?
That
I feel so gypped that I missed out on that during the game. That was amazing.
Oh, it was not amazing while you were trying to get safety. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, once you got safety, it was beautiful, though.
I feel like you got like there is no telling what he would have done if he got safety prior to you, Alex. I feel like that would have been a absolute disaster.
Well, we'll
Brittany was
talk
gonna
about it
give
when-
to- yeah.
I'm guessing we'll talk about it when we get there, but that was my original plan, was to give it to Drew.
That would have. I only talked to Drew when he was like mildly sober, and then when he was throwing my name out in one round. So like, I did not even see this degeneration until after the fact. But yeah, no, that is amazing television.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Ooh.
it's a top 10 sequester moment, I think.
I honestly think I was crying laughing at one point during that when I saw it live. It was so funny. The chat was blowing up. It was awesome. So that's the clip for today. What a clip. Wow.
That was great.
Wow. Okay, so let's get into the gameplay now. Okay, so top of the game, 19 players, 1 DQ'd for technical difficulties because of a storm. You already got one out. Nice. Okay, so round one, I should say. Typical vote. Person eliminated is going to put up 6 players for elimination the next round. What was everyone's strategy going into this round?
I wanted to get people out that I thought that I wouldn't mesh well with. So I'm pretty sure the first name that I put out was Alex K, because he mentioned in his video that he was unemployed, and I mentioned in my video, get a goddamn job. So I thought he wouldn't like that and he'd be coming after me. So I'm pretty sure his was the first name that I threw out.
I remember being really intimidated by the intro videos. Like, I'm still very new to Sequester. Like, I watched my first mini that was the BBUS Cam Mini, and then I played my first one a week later. But like, I have not watched the live show. I had no idea who had been in previous minis. The only people in our game that I had any knowledge of were like Angela and Brittany, and everything that I knew from what I had seen was like, people tend to target boring men early. So I was thinking we were in a room where like it was me and 3 women, which was excellent. And then I saw an Andrew, a Drew, and an Andy. I was like, we can't have that. So I threw out Andrew and Drew, and then neither one stuck.
Andrew. Right. Okay.
For me, I had so I was in a room with Sam, Adam, and Brittany S to start, and everyone does the whole let's stick together as a room. We're going to stick together as a room stuff, which obviously wasn't going to stick. But I remember in Adam's video, he started by calling everybody a moron. I was like, right away, I knew he was going to be a target. So my whole thing was to just kind of like lay low-ish because I knew his name was going to come up. So I told him I wasn't going to vote for him. We were going to stick strong as a room. And I think the name our group brought up right away was Kevin, maybe? I don't even remember who it was. I was just like, I'll stick with that, and I'm going to walk around, like move around and see what other people have to say.
Well, there were certainly a lot of names going around that round. I will say, your cast didn't have any qualm really getting to work. A lot of people were spreading names. I believe there could have been more than this, but I at any given point heard Hunter, Adam, Kevin, Sam, all of the vets, Drew specifically. So there was a lot of names floating around. A lot of people saying different things. What were your feelings? Did you feel that by the end of the round that you knew who was going to be eliminated? Like you felt confident about the vote?
I felt confident that I knew who was going to be eliminated, but I didn't want it to be Adam necessarily. I told Alex this. I threw my vote on Alex that round, Alex W, because Alex K wasn't picking up any traction, and I didn't want it to be Drew. So I thought maybe if I just kind of like threw a vote that it wouldn't. But it was just the first round. I didn't really know Adam that well, so it wasn't really a loss.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it was like self-preservation. Like I heard Adam's name in the second room I went to. I didn't hear the names that I was throwing, so I was like, okay, Adam. Like I was never in a room with him. I wish I got to know him. He seemed very nice.
And for me, my name I heard going around like probably 3 minutes before the round was up. So then I end up in a room, and I just did not have a chance to speak in the room. And then by the time I was figuring it out, I was asked if I could incentivize their games by promising them something for safety. And I was like, this is just too much. So then by the time I was about to start talking, the round ended. So I was paranoid beyond belief because I literally came into the game not wanting to flop again and get out before the jury. And I thought I was going to be first boot. So I was super anxious.
I feel like in Adam's case, and we've seen it a lot, is that, somebody comes out and, in the 1-2 rounds that they're there, they're nice human beings, but their video is just so divisive that it doesn't matter. They're just a target from the get-go. Like, you really need to watch what you say. Like, if you're targeting people right off the bat before you even meet them, you're just so easy to pick off and target early.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Intro videos, as always, very huge deal. You can't be too hard. You can't be too soft. You can't go too long. You can't be too short. You got to think about these things. So I know we chime on that a lot on this show, and I probably sound like a broken record. But if you're going to play, think about your intro video. Well, that round, of course, Adam was eliminated. He put up a lot of big targets as flops into the second round. So the people that we had up were Christian, Alex K, Drew, Hunter, Kevin, and Shannon. So we had all those people up. A lot of names were going around. Drew and Christian name kind of were the names that I think I was hearing the most in that round. How were you all navigating that? Were you using that round to really figure out who to vote for? Was it an easy vote, or were you using more of that time for safety to actually like build alliances or establish bonds with people?
For me, when I heard it was between Drew and Christian, because those are the two names I heard as well, I actually kind of knew Drew before the game. So I did not want him to go because I figured he was going to be a target throughout. It was somebody that I could easily, potentially, like use as somewhat of a meat shield. So I did not want him to go. So I was more campaigning for Christian to go, but not in a way that it was going to really put a target on my back.
Yeah, I wasn't too bothered early on just because like there's so much shifting in this game. So like there was a debate as to whether I wanted to set myself up with something long term or if I wanted to just kind of flow with it. I was going to make sure Shannon's name stayed out of people's mouth because she was my like first room alliance. So like I wanted to make sure that she was good. But her name was not really flying out there. It was a lot of Christian. It was a lot of Drew. I was in a room with a lot of Christian's allies, but like I got the sense that he was very dead in the water. And actually, when the time ended, I was in a room with just Christian. So like it was one of those things where it's like someone made a plan. I didn't have any like strong enough reason to go against it.
I think when I heard Christian's name, I had been in a room with Drew and we were wearing matching shirts. Like we both had the same print. And I was like, okay, maybe I can use this as like, he seems a little drunk. Maybe he'll like remember me. He'll keep me safe. Like, oh, we're matching. We're good. So I didn't want Drew to go. So when I saw that Christian was one of the options, I was like, oh, his hair doesn't match his mustache. I'm just going to use that as my reason and run with it. Like, and that's what I did. I used that round and I used that reasoning. I wanted to be like funny and I wanted people to want to keep me a little bit. So I tried to build relationships while also trying to target Christian a little bit and keep the heat off Drew.
He ran into trouble. I mean, he seemed like he would be a fun character if he lasted, but he ran into trouble because he was one of the few people who was willing to target the vets early on, and they were not fans of that. So soon as he started doing that, they spread his name like wildfire.
I believe a direct quote from Christian in the second round or first round when the topic of bringing up vets was raised. He said, yeah, let's do it. It might not be what the audience wants, but fuck the audience. Or he said, fuck the fans. Like, something like that.
I should have kept him around, man.
That round ended with Christian. Of all the flops, he was the one eliminated.
I'm curious about that because that brings up a point that this game kind of developed, was that people were afraid to go after the likes of Hunter or Drew because they were afraid of what the audience would think. They didn't want to target them because then the audience would dislike them. And I'm always curious about when you're playing a game like this, how much of an effect does the audience have? Are you playing for the audience or are you playing your personal best game?
So I have two like pieces of opinion on this. My first like hardline purist reality TV super fan, I got into Sequester because I love Survivor. I'm a BB fan, but I really am a Survivor guy. So I am a huge fan of the whole notion of you're insulated in this environment where the people that you're building bonds with are the people that hold your fate throughout the game. So like as like a purist, I would have loved to say like, audience, I don't care what you think of me. And at the end of the day, I don't. But because we all came in knowing that there was an element of audience saving or audience penalizing, you have to consider that in your strategy. Even if it's not your priority has to be building relationships in game. Because I think I showed a couple times that like, even if you don't have an alliance with the audience, your in-game relationships can save you. But like, if you can play both, like that just makes you a stronger player.
I agree with that. And I think that a lot of my motivation for wanting to keep the three of them, like it was less about like what the audience would want to see and it was more about what I wanted to see. And I just thought that, and I mean, I was wrong about Hunter and Drew truly being against each other, but just the fireworks that came with the fighting, I just couldn't resist. Like it was just a show that I could not keep my eyes off of.
And I'd agree for the most part. The only thing for me, I think, with the audience that you have to really keep in mind, like I really don't play for the audience when I've played. I play in my mind with the audience. So like, for example, when it was the round where we had to find a room and I think I ended up in a room with Cameron. Well, I knew that they weren't going to put up Cameron just because whether you love her or hate her, you already know Cameron as a character. So like, for me, that made no sense. So like, I don't see it as like playing for the audience as more of like playing with the audience and figuring out what are they going to want and taking your best prediction, but you can't play the game for them because if you do, then you're going to regret it if you lose.
And also, since I've watched Sequester Season 3, like I know who they are, which makes them less of a blind spot to me in the long run. Like I've seen them before and I have sort of like my conceived notion of how they would play. So I can easily navigate that since I know it already.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I did not watch Season 3. I didn't even know that Drew was on it. I knew that Hunter was because I knew Hunter won, and I knew Cam was because of her video. So, like, I just remember being in a room with Hunter, like, very early on, and you look at Hunter's eyes, and he just, like, pulls you in. And I was like, okay, I get it. This guy's good at this game. He's going to be strong. Like, I want to be best friends with him, and I've spoken, like, 2 words to him at this point. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so this guy is a threat. But then there was that argument of, like, look, I don't play this game to be an icon. I wasn't playing for the audience, and I knew that there were plenty of people the audience was going to like more than me. So should I care about that, or should I try to defend someone that they like so that I will win audience members? There is a like second level 3D chess you have to play with this.
And I barely even know how to play checkers, so.
It's definitely something you got to consider. Audience plays a big factor whether you like it or not. And just as you got to manage those social relationships in terms of jury management at a certain point, you got to manage the audience relationship and know that if you're going to potentially do something that triggers the audience, so to speak, that stokes the flame, that you should lean into it and accept it, because the audience needs a good villain. The audience needs someone to root against. And sometimes those people can be the best players. So after round 2, Christian was eliminated. We moved into round 3. I know Kevin in the chat is probably going to be real sad as we talk about this round. But this was the room roulette round, wherein, unfortunately, the wheel put up room 3 as flops, which were Sam, Hunter, Kevin, Shannon, and Angela. So for this round, was Kevin's the name that was largely going around, or like did it take a bit to get to that point? Where were your heads at?
I didn't even know, honestly. I didn't hear Kevin's name that much until the very end. And he was in my starting room. And I intended to work with Kevin, so I was bummed. I was very bummed. I didn't know what to do.
It's weird. Oh, God.
You can go ahead.
I was going to say, I didn't really hear Kevin's name much I tried to float, and I tried to float it to you, Chelsea, and I tried to float it to Marquise, and like you guys were defending him a lot. This is gonna sound real petty. The last mini that I played, the first one I was in, got dragged by like a lot of the community for being boring. And repeatedly over the last several weeks, like Kevin had said a couple of things to just like remind future players, oh, your mini was so much better than that other one. So like we had this kind of petty thing going in my old jury chat that if we ever find ourselves in a game with this guy, we want him out. So I actually liked Kevin in the game, but I knew, number one, I made a promise to my friends, and number two, like, I had this vendetta against him that just because. So I, like, in the 2 rounds where he was up, I voted for him both times, even though I did not hear his name at all.
Yeah, and for me, I heard his name towards the beginning, and I just pushed it because Kevin and I had not really been in a room together at all it was only 3 rounds, but like we didn't get a chance to really talk, and I think I talked to every other person. So I was like, it's either I let one of the people that I've talked to go, or I use this to my advantage and push Kevin just because I haven't really talked to him, which was sad because he's a nice guy. As we get no comment from him.
It's a game, man. You're also in those early rounds, you just need a reason to vote for somebody.
Yeah.
It's like that played into it. I was like, do I have a reason to vote for anybody before Kevin? Not really. So okay.
I think a lot of times, unless you do something like crazy to totally tank your game, if you go home pre-jury, don't take it too personally. A lot of times it really is just someone got around quicker than you, a twist screwed you over, just the way it worked out. There's so many factors, and considering the fact that LOSs are in play now, we see people get screwed over by them all the time. So just anyone out there who goes on pre-jury, play again. Don't let this be your last time,
Yeah. Once the name is out there too, I think in Kevin's case, it was like his name came up the first round. Then in the second round, he was nominated by the person who got booted. Then in the third round, he didn't get safety. Like if your name is out there, it's just an easy way. Once it's out there in the early rounds, it's just an easy way to pick somebody off. You can't be up there that many times and continue to survive.
Oh yeah. So the next round was the odds and evens round. That round resulted in Andrew being eliminated. In round 5, we had the Twitter poll round, wherein the audience chose Marquise, Cameron, Sam, and Andy as flops. Andy, let's talk about it.
Yeah. It was a shame because number one, I was so sure that with Cameron in my room, like we were not going to get touched. I was like, oh, cool. Like if the vets are the stands right now, like we're good. Cameron's in here. I knew that I had been playing. I knew that I had been on the right side of votes. So I'm like, okay, I'm not floating. This is good. I know that Sam's name had come up as a floater in the last round, so I was a little worried about her. And that's why, like, as soon as we were put up, we went in on Sam. But I'm still a little bit perplexed. Like, yes, I did write something on my whiteboard once, but no one told me not to. So as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, because number one, I have not listened to any commentary on the game because I am not here for that. And I only saw a little bit of the chat at the end. But if I'm right, it wasn't so much that the audience felt that I was weak or that I was the one who should go, but there was a vocal minority who made a decision and then acted on that decision at multiple times throughout the game. If I'm wrong, someone please correct me.
I think that sounds right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I think, we know that a certain base has a lot of following in this, and, we saw it with the Taryn and Aman, they dominated in terms of the Twitter polls. I think, that definitely swayed it. I think early on, the whiteboard sign, asking the audience, please love me, I think probably set some people the opposite way in the fact that they no longer wanted to love you because it did seem a bit desperate. And I think that turned some people against you. And because those people have a large following, that in turn turned the people listening to that against you as well. I do have something to read, though, if you give me a moment, directed towards Andy. So I got a message this morning. Hold on, let me pull it up. From Puya, who was on the podcast with Kirsten as it was going on, and he asked me to read this to you on air, so I'll do it. So he said to please pass this message along to Andy. Andy, you got targeted in your float around, and turned your game the fuck on. Good on you, man, for putting in a fucking shift last night and letting it roll off your back. I hope you know that there's no malicious feelings or beef from this side. And also congratulate Cameron when she comes on. So there you go. There are no hard feelings there on that.
I appreciate that. I guess I might stay in our hat patron. I have to decide. It was weird because, like, I think I did come into the game with a chip on my shoulder because, like, there was, like, a sense that, like, I played a couple weeks ago. It was recent, but, like, because of the way my game came across and because of, like, the fan reaction, even though I did pretty well, in the greater scheme of things, I came across as irrelevant. Oh, yeah, and then I said I would cry in my video. Guys, I was joking about that. I don't cry much. I just, like...
much.
Like, I mean, I don't know what I was going to say other than, like, I'm alone in my apartment right now. So, yeah. I said enough to avoid being that first target, and that was what I wanted to do. So my intro video did the job I needed it to. The one thing that I'm going to take issue with, I'll take issue to it, I think, when we get to Final 2, because that's the one comment that really gave me a problem. But, like, I understand that when you go into a game like this, you're opening yourself up to a ton of criticism. So, like, I don't mind getting shaded on by the audience at all. Just, like, please have a reason, guys. Like, tell me something I did wrong. Give me a reason that I need to turn up. Like, I know this wasn't the floater round, but when I was voted a floater, it was right after a vote that I had orchestrated. So I'm like... I was having a hard time trying to figure out what the audience did want, not just what they didn't. But joke's on them because I survived, yo.
Well, for the other two, was Sam the obvious target for you? Was there any kind of back and forth or debate on who should be the one to go out that round?
Can you remind me what the round was?
Yeah, so it was the audience poll round, and this was where Marquise, Cameron, Sam, and Andy were as flops, and Sam was eliminated.
Sam was in my original starting room, and for me, I heard, again, it was another round where her name was going around, so I was just like, there's no point in me wasting time trying to switch it. I talked to her just when the game started, and that was it. Like, we hadn't had any other interaction other than our, let's say it's true as a starting room agreement. So I was like, honestly, I can lose her.
My main objective in that round was saving Marquise. Honestly, Marquise was my ride or die.
It's rare you see... very concrete loyalty in the game, but you and Marquise back and forth, like, defended each other's name, like, refused to, even when, faced with three people saying they wanted the other one out, saying, absolutely not, I will not vote for them, which I thought was really, really impressive.
It was honestly, he was wearing a tie-dye shirt and I have a tie-dye sweatshirt behind me. And I'm like, okay, this is enough. I can use this. And
it seems like you base a lot of your alliances off of clothing,
yeah.
Okay,
like I like to find things that I can make a quick enough connection in my head, and then, like, I don't know, I just have a bunch of random shit going on up here, so it's just the first thing that comes out. But then I started having conversations with Marquise, and he's just fantastic and fabulous, and it was great. I couldn't have asked for a better person to call my ride or die, honestly.
Wow, Chelsea. Wow.
Sorry, Alex. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm giving you a hard time.
The Teachers Alliance was still, like, my second.
Okay,
so
good. That was my second too, so I'll take it.
Yeah.
We never actually got that Teachers Alliance together. If we would have, that could have been interesting.
Well, we kind of did. It was me, Brittany, and Chelsea, but you were in the room at the time, even though you're a teacher as well. So.
Sorry, Andy.
I didn't realize that Brittany was a teacher. I played 2 games with her.
She was, I don't know if she was a teacher. I think she was like what'd she say? She was like preschool or daycare or something?
No, I was daycare. I don't remember what she said, honestly.
I think she was preschool or something. So she was teacher, but it was like a different, she did it for a couple of years. It was yeah.
Oh, well, I would have been in on that. I was excited. I wanted to work with you two and Brittany. So, like, that would have been great.
Well, you didn't get to me fast enough, Andy.
We then head into the first of 2 joint rounds, the vote now or later twist. So by this point in the game, we had 14 players left. Of course, this twist was the players have a choice. They can either vote this round or the next round, but not both. And if they vote the first round, usually the votes are exposed. This time they were not, which was very interesting. And the first round ended with Brittany P being eliminated. What was everyone's thoughts during this round? How did you decide that you were going to tackle it? and how did you go about doing so?
For me, as long as I didn't hear my name going around, I wanted to save my vote. If I heard any of my other allies' names going around, I was going to let them know, and I was going to try and get something on the defensive so that I could keep my vote for the next round, but save an ally. But I didn't need to do that in the end.
Yeah, I don't know about.
Sorry, I'm just thinking right now. Chelsea, wasn't this the round that we started the Teachers Alliance? Because
I believe so. Because we were like, let's not vote.
So me, you, and Brittany started in the room together, and I think we came up with the name Brittany P. And we decided we weren't going to vote, but we were going to push the name to everybody else. Or am I remembering?
Oh, no, I remember this because I was still pushing Alex K at that point, right? He still hasn't gone home?
Yeah, no.
Correct.
Yeah, he goes up next round.
Okay, so I was still pushing Alex K, and then everyone was like Brittany, and I was like, I'm not going to vote, so I don't really have much control over this. So I will save Alex K for next round. Okay, I remember now. Everything is such a blur from last night, honestly.
Yeah. Even as we're rehashing it out, I'm like, was I even in that round?
Yeah.
I think, I don't know about you guys, but when Audrey announced that the votes wouldn't be exposed, that almost changed my strategy. Because I was thinking like, all right, if I don't hear my name, I wanted to be near the people who I thought had been kind of controlling the game or who were at least perceived as in charge. So like I found Hunter real quick, I found Cameron real quick. And I was just like, what are you guys doing? And they threw out names that were kind of irrelevant because Alex K and Brittany P, I didn't have really a working relationship with either of them. So I wanted to save my vote. I think they threw out Drew also. But when we got to the whole, like, your vote won't be exposed, I wanted to think of how we could game that so that, like, I could vote, but then say I still had a vote. Because if these were the names that were floating, I wasn't working with any of those people. And I think that there were people who had my interest in mind at that time. It was weird and dicey. I ended up not voting, but like I almost did. So good rule change.
I will say that I do like that better because if you vote in the first round, you're not as much at risk in the second round. You have a little bit more safety.
I agree, but I do think that just from the vibe I got from talking to most people, I think there's maybe like 3 people that voted in that first round. Yeah. I don't think there were a lot of people that voted, so I think it could have been. Honestly, I know Alex did vote the first round because he admitted it.
Cameron voted too.
And so it may have been just those 2 because I feel like everybody else was talking about the fact that they wanted to save their vote.
And I don't think so. I saw Alex was lying to most people, I think, saying that he voted in the first round when actually he did not. And that was the thing that I thought. Initially, I thought, okay, well, you know, now that votes aren't revealed, it'll be a lot easier. But really, it just makes more people want to save their vote, whereas you may end up with 1 or 2 people voting. Because if you don't think it's you, there's really now 0 reason for you to vote at all in the first round because nobody's going to know that you didn't vote.
Except because you can vote and say you didn't. Like, if I'm going around in the second round of the split and saying, oh, I still have my vote, let's work together, let's figure something out, that keeps my name off the target list in that second round. Where in the first round, because fewer people are voting, now I have more influence. That was the thought in my head there. I just didn't have a specific direction where I really like knew that round was going or where I needed it to go, which is like, but that was really the only consideration in voting or not. It's like, do I care who leaves?
And I think a lot of the times when people actually like talk about this round outside of the actual game or even inside the actual game, they're always like the best strategy is to save your vote. I think that making it so that the votes aren't revealed, I think that changes that entirely. Like Andy's would have been phenomenal if he had been able to do that.
I mean, I just didn't know who was going. If I had to save myself, it would have happened for sure.
And Brittany P seemed to have a pretty good grasp of the game. I thought she was someone who would have went a while, but it didn't work out that round, probably because there were so few votes.
She definitely looked very upset or very bummed when she...
I didn't really get to talk to her that much.
Brittany, if you're watching, play again.
We love you.
We love you.
Yeah.
So we had Brittany P eliminated first round. Votes were not revealed the second round. We had Alex K eliminated the second round, which brought us down to 12 players. And that brought us to the safety pass-off round. Now this is definitely a round that when Audrey, when Sequester Bot started doing it a month or so ago, I loved it because before this, the minis with the rounds and them being so quick and everyone racing around, like you don't really get too many substantial opportunities to foster like real bonds or like reconnect with your alliances. And so a round like this is perfect where instead of everyone trying to go against someone or everyone kind of like lying to everyone, you have a round where everyone's trying to align with people or like make deals with people to get safe. And while that chain's happening, you get all of like the other interesting interactions with everyone else because it usually lasts about 25, 30 minutes or so. So it's a pretty substantial round. That, of course, is where we got Drew's meltdown. So while all of you are strategizing, while all of you are really pushing to get safe, you've got Drew sitting there, not at all knowing what's happening. So we should have Cameron joining us any moment now, but we can go ahead and get into this. So when the safety round started out, the wheel chose Katie to be the first person in the chain. So the actual chain as it went through the round was Katie saved Hunter, Hunter saved Angela, Angela saved Shannon, Shannon saved Andy, Andy saved Natalie, Natalie saved Marquise, Marquise saved Chelsea, Chelsea saved Brittany S, Brittany S saved Alex, Alex saved Drew. However, Cameron had an LOS, and she LOS Drew out of the game. So let's talk about it. Going into it, right off the bat, we have Katie, Hunter, Angela. Those are the first few people with safety. What are we thinking? Where are our heads at? What's going on? Please.
After the third person, I was pissed that I was not next because when I was in that room with Katie when she got safety, and I figured that it would be like, oh, our room. But Marquise and I were room limited out. So when neither of us got safety fourth, I was like, okay, fuck, okay. And I wish that I had paid a lot more attention to the order because if I had noticed that Shannon gave it to Andy, I would have had a better time late game.
Sorry. I was surprised you left the room when that happened. Like because typically, you couldn't say anything, but you could have just stayed there silent, which we've seen happen in the past. And I was surprised when you two left, and I was concerned because I was like, this might not get back to you. It did, but it was a big risk to take, being that you were in the same room already with the person with safety.
I figured that it was okay for me to leave because I felt like even though in those situations where it's like somebody in a room gets something, don't be the first to leave, I thought that I was well enough connected that I would end up getting it somewhere down the line. And like I had Marquise, I had Natalie, I had I thought I had a few more people.
Cameron. Cameron.
Hi, Cameron.
So we're talking about the safety round. We just got into it. Oh, can you talk? Can't hear you at all. Do you have like a anything plugged in or anything that you can adjust, Cameron, by any chance? So while Cameron's fiddling with that, we're in the safety round. I'll fill you in. We're in the safety round. We're just talking. You don't have it. Let's see here. Maybe you can try leaving and coming back in, or making sure that you triggered set like permissions on your microphone to be able to talk.
This is the 7 deadly sins round that we needed last night.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I was so upset that I did not get a punishment.
This is the muting that we didn't get. No, Cameron. No, you won a mini last night. How do you not know this? Okay, all right. Well, she'll be back. She'll be back. Sorry, Chelsea. What were you saying? I think you got an order there.
Oh, so I felt that I was well enough connected that it was okay enough for me to leave and that I would get it somewhere down the line. And then I also had in the back of my head, like there were people like Andy, like Shannon, that I hadn't talked to that much, that it would come back to bite me if I didn't have enough conversations with them. And it did. But either way, I made it through that round. So that's all that matters.
So that was the first round where I really tried to take a lot of agency over what was going on. This is where I kind of I feel like I started to play a lot harder. I had an alliance with Brittany S that we were keeping super on the down low. And we had actually talked about if we get to the safety round, we're not going to give the safety to each other. but we're gonna convince someone else that like the other one strong-armed us into doing it. So when Shannon got saved, I felt, hey, Cameron again. When Shannon got saved, I was pretty sure it was going to come to me because we started in a room. It was me, Alex, Shannon, and Natalie, and I camped in that room because I was going to make sure that I was in a room when that room limit ended. So we had made that arrangement, and then I was with Natalie again. Chelsea, you showed up, and I was like, Chelsea, here's the list, and here's what's going on, because Marquise had showed up right before, and he wanted to save you. So it was like, all right, I'll save Natalie. Natalie saved Marquise. Marquise saved Chelsea. Chelsea saved Brittany. And then hopefully Alex would also get saved in there. That was the goal. I wanted Alex saved, but I had made this deal with Brittany, and I knew that if I had to try to do what I could to get her safe. And it worked out for all of us. So
I mean, in my head, I wanted Drew to be the first juror because I felt like if I was sitting in the final two with anybody but Cameron or Hunter, I felt like I could have Drew's vote. I thought I could get it, especially after chasing him while he was drunk, like for half the night. It was so fun. But for me, I feel like I definitely should have saved him. Because I was supposed to give it to him. I gave it to Brittany, who said she would give it to him. Brittany gave it to Alex, who Brittany told me said would give it to him. And then Cameron had an LOS. So I shouldn't have listened to Brittany.
Cameron, to go over that safety order for you. So in that round, where did I have it right here? Oh, God. Okay, so Katie saved Hunter. Hunter saved Angela. Angela saved Shannon. Shannon saved Andy. Andy saved Natalie. Natalie saved Marquise. Marquise saved Chelsea. Chelsea saved Brittany S. Brittany S saved Alex. Alex saved Drew. And then you, of course, had the LOS. When did you get that LOS? Was it that round or was it leading up to it? We can't hear you still. Yeah. We could try charades, sequester charades here. Oh, Andy, do you have that whiteboard of yours you love so much?
Oh my God, Deb.
Oh, let's go bigger.
Oh God, it's a good thing you didn't bust that out. If you put audience,
next time, please bring that out.
Oh boy.
Okay, well, I can talk about.
Yeah. Please.
So this is for me. I think the round that like I realized that if I didn't get my shit together, I was going to be gone, and I think it was kind of a wake up call for me because there were people that I expected to save me, like Hunter. I kind of expected Chelsea to, just because of where we were at. But I also, at the beginning of the round, I could not find anybody who had safety. So like I was always in rooms with people that weren't safe, and I couldn't find the people with safety until Marquise. But I got there right after Marquise used it, so then I had to like go back and forth. So I got into a call, and you could kind of see parts of it on that clip you showed of Drew. Where I walked in on Brittany S. and Drew talking, and Brittany was going to give safety to Drew because she promised that.
Okay.
There we go. Yes. Okay, we can hear you now.
I don't know if I'm technologically impaired, but it's cool.
Okay. Alex, go ahead.
So then I promised, because I knew, because I had heard Drew say multiple times he loves Cameron. So I knew that although Drew promised to Brittany that he'd save me, I knew for a fact that he'd save Cameron. So I had to get safety from Brittany. So I was like, Brittany, if you give me safety, I will give Drew safety right after, if that's what you're worried. And because obviously we all knew he was drunk, and Brittany could just tell like he was not saying that he'd do it. So then I got the safety, and Brittany left right away. And then Cameron, I think, like briefly joined in, and I was like, oh my God, no, I just promised. I was like, I can't publicly break a promise and just look like a complete ass. Which ended up working out well, because then me and Cameron ended up in a room one-on-one later. But I'll let her explain the rest of it.
Yeah. That was fun. Yeah, after that whole round, I was like, all right, cool. Everybody's been bullshitting me. Sounds great. So I was like, that's when like I kicked into gear, and I was like, okay, so I got to figure out who can I work with? And that's right after that, Alex, is when we kind of linked up. So
yeah.
So you think that like the being last in the safety chain really is what helps you turn things around and kick it up?
Yeah, for sure. Because I was like, I was considering, okay, if it landed on me first, I was either thinking like Katie or Chelsea that I was going to give it to. And then when nobody even in Chelsea, I was like popping into rooms with you and you'd like pop out and I'm like, okay.
Honestly, like my timing with leaving rooms was just so terrible last night.
Well, so I started to pick up on those cues and I was like, okay, so clearly like this is not going the way that I think it's going. So yeah, that's when I had to change everything.
Now, I really think that this round is just like, who's your number one? Or who is the person before you's number one that you have promised to save once you've gotten safety?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the whole promising to save people thing is kind of strange. I don't think that that really needed to play into it too much. I think that, like, if also, like, you have to think about who are you going to save based on do you already have a tight bond with this person? Do you need to solidify it? If you don't need to, then maybe you need to look at someone else that you want to create an ally with. That's the way that I thought of it, but I never got it. So
yeah. I feel like oftentimes people are so desperate just to get safety themselves. They don't really care if it's their allies anymore. They just are willing to commit to a room and whoever's there at the time just to make sure that they're safe. I think last night was one of the first times we saw people willing to kind of go against that and really look for their own allies rather than just saying, regardless of what happens, it's us four, we give it to each other, which definitely led to a more interesting viewing experience, I'd say.
Okay, cool.
There is definitely a way to game it too. And I think that now that this has been showing up in the minis more and more, like we can kind of play it off. Like Brittany and I did not talk at all during that round. It was a previous round where we had agreed that we were going to just like make sure that the other one got saved. So, and we also agreed we weren't going to do it directly. So now that we can like anticipate some of these twists, we can start to kind of, there is a way to game it. And also with the time that this round particularly creates, it allows you to game future twists. Because I know this was where I started to really throw Chelsea under the bus for the even votes round. And then that flopped. But you use those opportunities to start to like, there's not going to be a million new twists every day. So if you're smart and you do your homework, you can figure out how to game it.
End of the safety chain round. That brought us to our last pre-jury round, which was the highest even numbered votes. We had our first drag. We had votes exposed. A lot of stuff going on in one round. A lot to take in, especially. And then I would imagine also for you, Cameron, having to turn your game around at that point. This round resulted in Katie being eliminated. Katie was eliminated by Alex, Brittany S., Marquise, Chelsea, Katie, and then she dragged Brittany. Let's talk about that. Any thoughts, any things that jump out for you? I know that you said that you were trying to have a plan going to thwart Chelsea. Well, what happened there? Why was it then Katie instead? Where did it shift to Katie? And what was that? What was going on with everyone else?
It was fear. And this was something that
I'm so scary.
Well, yeah, apparently. I wasn't scared of you. I voted how I said I was gonna. This round, number one, like, it's a really hard round to game in real time. The first game that I played, I lost a really good friend in Rayanne, and then Rayanne dragged my final two in Robbie. So, like, I have, like, a bad history with this round, and I was like, okay, I want to get ahead of this. I want to know my people. I want to pick a name. Let's get a name. So, in the safety round, my group of four was still all in. It was me, Katie, Angela, and Shannon. So I was like, oh my God, guys, there's 4 of us out of 12. We can totally run this vote. And so I just wanted to think of who hasn't really had their name come up yet, who wasn't going to have their name come up yet, so that our 4 votes would be the only 4 votes. And that's why I landed on Chelsea.
Because I'm beautiful and perfect and nobody would come for me.
well, someone apparently doesn't like anybody, and it's fine. So, so it was literally, who can we put this target on so that our votes will matter? Let's risk the drag. I don't know who you would have dragged in that situation.
Who would have been the 4?
It would have been me, Katie, Angela, and Shannon.
I probably, my petty heart would tell me to drag you, because I feel like at this point I would have heard that you said my name. But I think I probably would have dragged Katie because I hadn't really seen much from her.
Right. I because of how this happened, and because a lot of people the first time I played kind of played from behind, and like there was a little bit of fear behind moves, I decided I was just going to go gung-ho and I was going to not be afraid of a drag. Unfortunately, as I found out, both Shannon and Angela were afraid of the drag. Shannon told me immediately after that she threw her vote onto Angela, which effectively eliminated Katie.
Yes.
Now, the one good thing that came of that was once Katie was gone, I was not afraid of getting dragged anymore. But I was sad.
And I, honestly, by the end of that round, I had no idea what the hell was going on, and I voted for Katie, not knowing. Like, I had no idea.
Marquise said that he had you. So, like, I went into a room, I was going to try to throw votes into random places so that you would definitely get the most votes. And then Marquise was like, oh, no, we got this. Andy, if you join us, you're our 4, we can get Katie out. And I was like, I can't vote for Katie. So,
I mean, you can, but...
Well, I can, but I started to be like, oh, I don't trust Cameron. Cameron's not actually with you. And, like, all these different things. And, like, I threw random names out to make them think that I would be the 5th vote. So, like, let me just vote somewhere else. And then I was actually trying to push this to be a tie, which it did not.
See, and me and Cameron were the ones who actually started the Katie train.
Yeah.
Because we were in a room and Katie was in there, and then Cameron used her LOS, and then we were talking. I was like, can I just explain what happened to you to Cameron? And right away, Katie left, and I was just talking like, we're clearly on the bottom. We need to stick together. And then I think I asked you who you were most pissed off about, because I was just angry that we were both at the bottom.
Yep.
And I think you said Katie.
I was like, Katie. Yeah, I did.
So then we were like, okay, well, let's go around, and we were just going to try to find. We had said we were both going to do it just because that's an even number regardless.
Right.
But then we were going to go find other people. So I got Marquise to do it, and I don't know how. I don't think I talked to you that round, Chelsea.
Yeah, I don't think you did. I think I might have heard it in passing from Marquise and then just went with it.
Yeah, you asked me, Alex. You and Marquise were in the room with me.
Oh, that's right.
You wanted me to be the 4th vote. And I was like, I don't trust Cameron. Like, I threw some nonsense out because I just was not on board. But, like, Chelsea voted right.
Yeah, honestly, I think I ended up talking to Katie, and she, like, convinced me that she was actually with me. And, like, she played me. I'm not going to lie. Katie played me. And I was like, so that's why I'm glad that it ended up working out. I think I voted myself, because I was thinking that people were going to have the even number of votes for me or whatever. I just felt like I was in trouble, so I voted myself to have just like put that out there. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. But that's what happened with me.
It's a good thing that worked out and no one like threw a hinky vote on you or something. Who's to say what might have happened?
Yeah.
Well, with the drag of I was gonna say the drag of Brittany to me surprised me, because I thought, I mean, we've seen Brittany play a bunch now, and yeah, she's good, and I actually think last night was probably her best game, and I think the biggest surprise was that Katie's reasoning was that she wasn't playing as hard, when in my opinion, from what I was watching, she was playing as hard, if not harder, than anyone there. She was just trying to play it in a more subtle way. Which, yeah, I was definitely surprised she got dragged for sure.
I thought she was playing very hard.
I thought she was doing a really great job.
Yeah.
I was avoiding her because I didn't want people to know how tight we were, but I wanted her in the game as long as possible. She was a number, and she was somebody who I was going to work with for a long time. So she had a lot of friends.
Yeah.
See, and I didn't talk to her.
She offered me a final 2 at one point, and I was like, sounds great. Yeah.
Well, and when Cameron told me she was pissed at her, I hadn't talked to her, and I was like, I wrote down the chain list of like who saved who, and I knew she was at the front, and I was just watching that. I'm like, if we don't do something about the front of that list now, we're gonna be screwed.
Yeah. So that's why I was actually so glad she dragged Brittany. Like, even though I didn't really understand it, I was like, perfect.
I was just happy to not be dragged. I didn't want to have to use my LOS.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to save that, right?
Yeah.
Especially with a lot of the later twists that came out during the jury phase. Speaking of jury, this is where we were in jury. So with the dragging of Brittany, that brought us down to 9 players, the start of the jury phase. And our very first round was the biggest floater twist. So how this worked...
was there no previous votes first? Give credit to Natalie.
Oh, right. Sorry.
I know where that float around happens, ER.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a
looking a
second.
little further. Hey, relax. Don't come for me. Okay. I'm gonna eliminate you from this podcast. So you cannot vote who you voted before. Yes. And in this round, that is where Natalie was eliminated. I know from an audience perspective, from my end, that I heard Angela, Andy, Chelsea, Natalie. I heard all your names going around. And I know that when I played this game last time, this was a round that I was really worried by because I had tried to play an under the radar game. And the problem with that is when this round comes around, you're potentially screwed. So where were you all sitting at here? What were your thoughts?
The only person that I couldn't vote for was Alex W. because I threw my vote at him the very first round. So for me, and I had no interest in going after Alex because, like I said, Teachers Alliance was second place for me. So, sorry, Andy. So I'm
a teacher too.
Wait, Cameron, you are a teacher?
Yeah, I'm a teacher too. Rude. I didn't get invited.
It's okay. We should have made our own.
Yeah, next time, Teachers Alliance. Now that we all know.
5 teachers.
But I thought it was fair game this round for me. I can't remember. I didn't want it to be Natalie, and I had no idea it was going to be Natalie. But like the mid section of the game is just a blur for me.
Yeah.
This is where the Pink Whitney came out.
So this is actually when I first started targeting Marquise because I knew that Chelsea and Marquise were super tight, and I hadn't voted for him yet. So I think I said it to you, Alex. I don't know. I said it to you too, Andy. Yeah. So that's how it got back to him, I guess. but yeah, that's when that started for me.
So Marquise had actually told me your name before you told me his.
Okay.
So
that's what I thought.
He was legit coming for you. Like that was not a bad call.
Okay. That's what I thought.
I don't know if this happened in other rooms. I think I was the one who threw out Natalie, which like I feel guilty about, especially because like I was trying to forge something when I saved her. I was like, let's work together. But this round, just like with throwing out Chelsea's name, it was, okay, who has not been on the radar? Like, I don't know if I had caught votes. I know that, like, my name had come up, but I don't know if people had actually voted for me. I don't know if they threw votes on me at some random point. So, like, I was just trying to figure out who do I like the best of the people that I'm not working with closely. And I really liked Natalie. She was really nice. She was really cool. She was one of, like, 2 people who I wanted to align with in the beginning. I just never could find her. So I was like, I really like her. I bet other people like her too. So we haven't voted for her. Let's just get her. And then I voted for Cameron because why not? But there were no votes on Natalie by that point.
Yeah, this was for me was a chill round because I remember the Katie thing I was super anxious about because I thought she was going to drag me because I hadn't talked to her. So when we made the jury, I was like, honestly, I think I thought I was safe because I thought a decent amount of people voted for me that first round. So I thought, well, they can't vote for me this round, which ended up being true with someone like Chelsea, who did vote for me.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine. It made me feel good that round. And so then I just kind of was like, I'm going to take this round to like just kind of observe more and figure out who's close with who so that I can kind of better myself towards the end of the game.
You did.
Thanks.
You did play a good game.
Thank you.
Well, once Natalie was eliminated, that brought us into the floater twist. With the floater twist, how that was set up, a room was chosen of the people in it. Those were the potential biggest floaters. All of the players had a few minutes to strategize, try and suss out who they thought was the biggest floater. They then would vote. The audience would vote. The votes would have to match. Otherwise, all the other players would be up for elimination. This was the first time that we actually saw that aspect of it happen. The last few times that we've seen this twist worked, it's always, or I think we've only seen it like 2 or 3 times now, but it's worked out where the votes did match. And this was the first case where it didn't. So it made for a really interesting round to watch. We, of course, with the biggest floaters, the players chose Shannon, whereas the audience, I believe, they chose you, Andy. Is that right?
I'm not sure. I feel like I was really popular, but
where I was sitting, I thought you were the most loved person in the game. I don't know. I was watching the wrong feed.
Me too. Yeah, that was crazy. I think this speaks to something, and this is like a more overarching issue that is going to need to be addressed going forward. And this was something that actually Hunter brought up in our jury chat. There is a very it's great that the audience is so invested in Sequester, and it's awesome how much participation is welcomed and invited into the game. But this was a moment where it wasn't audience participation, it was audience manipulation. And what ended up happening was because people ironically did the whole "who have you heard" thing, like they got a name from someone else, cast a vote, that ended up completely backfiring on them, because the reality was the in-game people did not think that I was floating, even though there were people who didn't like me. So,
as Marcus says here, for what it's worth, I do believe that's right, that she was technically telling people to vote for a different room that you were in. However, it probably did not help your case that she had been dragging you on the podcast nonstop up until that point.
Well, yeah, and even if she was pushing a different room, once our room was up, did she start pushing me again, or what happened after our room was nominated?
I don't know. I think that once your room was selected, I think that you were who she wanted.
Well, thank you to everybody in the game who didn't want me.
Yeah. So from everyone else's perspective, where were you all at where it ended up being Shannon, who everyone largely thought was the floater? Did you think Shannon was one of the floaters? Did you think it was someone else? How did you guys vote for that?
I didn't necessarily consider Shannon a floater because I kind of had a suspicion that she was working with Andy, but I knew that Andy was the stronger of the two. And then Marquise, obviously, not a floater if he's working with me. So, well, if he's so closely aligned with me that he wouldn't vote for me. So
she was the first boot I made jury twice.
It was just process of elimination for me for that.
Go ahead, Alex.
I was just going to say I don't remember exactly what room I was in to start off, but I remember we were talking about, whoever I was in a room with agreed that Marquise was not the floater. Yeah. And we also, I honestly hate interpreting who's a floater, because I think in games, being a floater can get you far, and like sometimes playing a floater game can win you the game. So for me, like I have such a hard time interpreting what is being viewed from a viewer's standpoint as a floater and what is being viewed as a floater from a player standpoint. So for me, that round, when I heard it was between Andy and Shannon, I just went with Shannon because that's the name that I heard the most.
I was
gonna say, you also have to consider like audience. If you're going to be doing this vote in the future, there is so much that we in the game don't see. We are in one room at a time. We don't know who's talking to each other in the other rooms. Like, I based all of my opinions. Like, I thought Marquise was a floater more than Shannon because I was telling Marquise names. He was asking me for them. So like I also was working with Shannon, so I didn't want her to catch votes. I was almost about to try to convince people to vote for me because I was so sure it wasn't me that it would then flip it and then we'd get the power. So I'm really happy that that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But there's so much we don't know while the game is happening. We find it out after.
That and my whole thing with the floater round itself, like on the live Sequester show, like when you watch the floater episode, I think it's in season 2 where they do it. Like when they're describing what a floater is, they're kind of describing more of like a coaster and not like the actual floater strategy. So in Sequester itself, when we do the floater round, I'm thinking who's the biggest coaster, not who's the biggest floater, because that's just what I saw previously on the show. But I think maybe there needs to be a better description of what a floater is, especially with a bunch of these new people coming in who have just seen Sequester. Like maybe we need to get our dictionaries out and all get on the same page on that, because I really think that there's a disconnect. Like half of the people think it's one thing and then half of the people think it's the other thing, because we're all watching like Survivor, Big Brother, Sequester, and they all have different definitions.
So would you say we should petition going forward for that twist to be renamed the coaster round? Who's the biggest coaster?
Personally, I would prefer biggest coaster, because then we're getting the people who aren't doing much out. We're rewarded. Like, I don't want to reward gameplay that's actually good. I mean, I don't want to not reward gameplay that's actually good. Like, if you're doing a great job of being a floater, I don't think you should be penalized for that.
Yeah, you can be an entertaining floater. You can be a very, some great players who have won games have used the floating strategy. So I don't think necessarily it's something that we should, penalize by any means. Like, it's the people who aren't actively participating and aren't fighting are the ones who should get the brunt of that twist.
See, and for me, what I think would be more interesting of a twist, I don't know how players would view it. And honestly, I mean, Audrey's doing a phenomenal job. So this is not me questioning anything that she's doing, but like, I think it would have been more interesting if it would have been something like how it was last night. Like, which room do you, as a viewer, like the least? Not even floater or coaster or any, like, what's your strategy? Because then as a player in the game, you have to think about why was that room targeted? Are they targeted because they're a villain? Are they targeted because they're playing boring? Are they doing nothing? Like, I think that you have to, as a player, then really think about more and figure out how that is going to help you for the end of the game. But that's just my
I think Audrey potentially giving an actual like definition of it might be helpful, but
yeah. But again, I will get on my soapbox and stand here until the cows come home and remind people that if you're going to have any of these twists, where especially where we're saying specifically a type of player is supposed to be targeted, that needs to actually be an unbiased poll of the audience where each individual's voice counts equally. Because if not, it's going to backfire. It cost the game a previous winner. A shark went out in the floater round.
And I honestly believe that if Hunter didn't go out that round, I wouldn't have gone out the round after.
Well, hopefully Hunter would have gone out after.
Yeah.
How do we feel about this comment here? Do we feel that likability from the jury trumps someone who dominated? So if floaters can do that, isn't that not floating? Hope that makes sense.
Hey, Nadine. Likability.
I'm sorry that your hopes are not being met. I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, no, I think is it better that somebody is liked by the jury or that their game is heavily respected by the jury? Like,
I would hope in this day and age that our game is more respected than likability.
Poor Kano does, though. You can be both.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Absolutely.
And you should be, but I think that you know, I feel like Survivor, I'm a big Survivor person. I feel like Survivor has developed into a way to where it's like, okay, I understand if you blindside me and like, I respect that because you made a big move. And I think that that's where the movement of all these, you know, types of elimination games are going. So that's just my feeling on it.
Yeah, I think especially in this community where we're all, you know, huge fans of these games, like the juries actively want the best player to win. So I feel like the majority of the time we are going to reward the person who played the best game,
right? Because we're all gamers, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think,
I mean, that's why I voted for Hunter in the live version, you know, or from what I saw, you know what I mean. So
I think
I hated it.
if you're my friend and I'm on the jury, you do not get my vote for simply being my friend.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, with that round, as we saw, the votes did not match up. So that ended up making Andy, Marquise, and Shannon the sole voters in a revote. So how is everyone feeling going into that? No, Andy.
Amazing.
I felt terrible. I thought that I was out that round. I thought Andy told me that he wasn't going to vote for me, but I thought he was full of shit. So I used my LOS on myself that round, which was not what I needed to do. It would have been a 3-way tie. And
so here's what
what happened. Tell me.
So my goal was very simple, and I even said it when I was trying to campaign. Like when we were trying to figure out the vote before that, I was like, look, guys, whatever happens this round, we're going to be down to 7, and Hunter and Cameron are both still here.
Yeah.
So the fact that things got flipped and I was one of 3 votes at 8, I knew Shannon was like anti-Chelsea. I knew that Marquise was not going to vote Chelsea under any circumstances.
Right.
I was like, okay, a vote is going to Chelsea. If I can get Marquise onto Hunter or Cameron, we can split. We can do 2-1, and then if an LOS comes, like, sorry, Chelsea, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't actually want Chelsea to go, though. So I, like, literally right before that round ends, I saw an LOS pop up on the screen, and I was in a room with Hunter, and I thought that he got it. So I stayed gung-ho with Marquise. I was like, Marquise, let's just put our votes on Hunter. Shannon's going to vote for Chelsea. It's 2-1. Like, we're trying to get Hunter out unless he has an LOS. And then during the vote, I threw my vote onto Cameron just to make sure. Because, like, I was actually trying to save you, Chelsea, that time.
So it was 2-1?
It was 1-1-1.
1-1-1. Okay.
Marquise voted for Hunter. Chelsea voted for Shannon voted for Chelsea. I voted for you.
Got it.
That was number 2. And then
did Hunter have an idol that round or not? LOS?
No, that was I was the one who found that round, and then I was like, I'm gonna play it.
The reason I asked is because I was walking into a room and Hunter was in there, and I told him, I was like, the vote is going to be on you. I think it was you, Andy, that said you were voting Hunter, and I said, I think you're in danger. You need to play your LOS if you have it. And he was the way he was talking to me, he was like, okay, yeah, like he was like aware of the fact that he needed to play LOS. So I was like, okay, so you have an LOS, why didn't you play it? But I guess he just didn't have one and was trying to make it seem like he did.
Yeah, he was following the 3 of us around. So me, Marquise, and Shannon were trying to get into the same room so that we could just like firm out a plan. Oh, I might have told Marquise to vote for Chelsea. I knew you weren't going to vote for Chelsea, Marquise. I just kind of like, I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So I didn't know for sure if Shannon was going to vote for you because like maybe she would vote with me once. But my whole game in that round was like, let's make sure that there's a vote on Hunter. Let's make sure that there's a vote on Cameron. One of them is going.
That's smart.
And so when the tie came up, I was going to vote Hunter out. Like he was going no matter what. But then LOS kind of beat that.
Yeah.
Cameron, how many total LOSs did you have last night?
I had 3.
3. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a record, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the record. Audrey said last night that it was 2.
I thought Braden had 3.
I had 2.
I had 3 also. So
nice.
Yeah, so I think 3 is the record. I just only used 2. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what your strategy was for getting the LOSs, because I feel like if you're in a position, which I think you felt last night and I felt in my game, was that I am totally behind. Nobody wants to work with me. I need to find some sort of way to survive, that I was actively, I mean, it was a different way to do LOSs back then, but I knew I needed everyone. And it's even more so now with the green dot. You can focus on that and make that your game, because there's so many LOSs that you can survive if you can really get enough.
Yeah. Well, personally, I don't really want to say what my strategy was.
Probably for the best.
Whatever it was damn good because there were so many LOSs that I thought I had, and I did not get a single one.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had a strategy. I had a plan. Like my computer was working for me, but yeah, I don't want to say how I did it. So I'm sorry.
I only saw 4 total, and I got 2.
Oh yeah, I didn't see him in the beginning of the game at all because I wasn't looking.
I kept getting distracted by Alex's shirt in his picture. So I could have sworn, like on at least like 4 different occasions, I thought that the hashtag living on your shirt just glowed green. So I like messaged in whenever I saw that LOS. It was not.
I didn't see a single green dot the entire game.
Oh, really?
I mostly wasn't looking. Honestly, I was like, I need to focus more on like the relationships. But I wish looking back that I didn't need one necessarily, but I wish looking back that I would have at least taken more time to do that.
That's going to be my strategy next time I play a mini. I'm going to make sure my pitcher has a green dot on me.
I got drawn to that so many times.
So there's a bunch of false LOS plays.
Alex, I'll tell you my strategy.
Perfect. I'll reach out after.
Well, after Hunter was slayed there and sent to jury, we moved into the rumor has it round. Where the players got to anonymously message Sequester Bot some rumors that would then be read at the beginning of the round and at the end of the round. And just a few of some of the rumors that we saw. Chelsea and Marquise have a final 2.
True.
Marquise is running the show. Andy is good with everyone and telling them he's good with they're good with him. Shannon and Angela have a final 2. Chelsea dated a former Big Brother winner.
May I respond to that?
I know that Sarah G in the comments has not stopped asking this. She needs to know. She wants to know. These are from across different comments.
So I did not. Andy made up that rumor, which was fantastic. Like, it caught me very off guard. And I honestly think that, like, if I wasn't spending so much time being like, oh, like, what was that? I would have been able to play that round a bit smarter. I did not date anybody who's ever been on Big Brother. But I did answer this question on Facebook. I was asked who it would be if I could pick. And I looked through the ages and only BBUS. And I honestly think that if I had to pick, realistically, it would probably be Ian Terry, because he's not even 30 yet, and he's smart, and he's okay. But if I could have my pick of the litter, I would pick Casey, because girls got hands.
Chelsea is totally lying. On the call afterwards last night, she said she's dated Evil Dick for like 20 years. She's totally lying.
Listen, I was watching Kid Nation when Evil Dick was on Big Brother, so don't even.
I was almost on that show. I have salty flashbacks.
Seriously?
Yeah, I was a finalist in casting, but my parents wouldn't sign the contract. My parents wouldn't agree to it, so I couldn't drink it.
Just think where you would have been now.
You could have been the villain on Kid Nation.
You could have been an Adult Nation now.
Wow.
I mean, I don't think we have an Adult Nation, so it's fine.
With the rumor round, this was where Chelsea was eliminated.
And I had gotten the LOS this round.
Oh no.
And then Audrey was like, did you see that I said you got the LOS? And I was like, typing back to her, yeah, I really hope you're not asking me this because it means that I should use it. And like, I just figured that wouldn't happen. So I didn't play it. And I wanted to save it for the next round because I figured that's where I would really be in trouble. So I ended up not playing it. And that's what fucked me.
It's unfortunate because the next round also would be a very handy round to use an LOS in. That is definitely one of the very chaotic rounds. But let's talk about this round a little bit more. So after the rumors, some of the rumors were said, we're going in. Andy, Alex, where were your heads at? Where were we leaning for the target? Was it Chelsea from the get-go, or did it get shifted that way?
I was on Cameron 100%. I was at a point where I wanted to be in Final Four with Shannon and Angela, and then either Alex or Marquise. And because I figured like we could easily get that person voted out, and I'd be unlikely to get dragged in that situation. That was like the first time I ever really started thinking endgame. So, and I knew I had not been in a room with Cameron or Alex for like a really, really long time. So me, Shannon, and Angela agreed on Cameron. I was pretty sure Shannon was going to vote Chelsea anyway. And then I got into a room and I found Alex and Cameron and I camped. I stayed there because I wanted to make sure that it's probably for the best, Bridget. But I camped in that room just to make sure that like the only two people left who I really thought could gun for me at that point were sitting with me.
See, I think this round for me, this round I really remember being, like, I don't really remember it all that much. I think what happened was Cameron had told me that we needed to go after Chelsea, Marquise, and I think Andy, if I'm not mistaken, as like they were a group of 3. I could be totally wrong. So correct me if I'm wrong.
Because Shannon and Angela
were with us, I think.
I was saying we needed to pull them in because I knew that Chelsea and Marquise were super tight. And I didn't really know where, and I think Andy, I knew that you were in there too, I think, but I knew at that point I was searching for numbers. I wanted you gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just knew we weren't together.
Yeah. I was just searching for numbers at that point. I was like, okay, who would be willing to work with me? Us, Alex, but I did throw out the rumor, and I said it later on that Marquise was running the show to hopefully get y'all to care about that.
Also, I want to know who started not to go back, but I want to know who started the rumor that me and Cameron were a final 2, because I thought we hid that pretty well.
Yeah.
I
don't think we actually made a technical final 2 deal. We were just kind of like, all right, we gotta watch each other for sure. And it just happened kind of naturally, which was interesting.
Yeah. But
this would have been the round where we would have gotten some punishments. Typically the last 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month or so of minis, the final 7 has been the 7 deadly sins round. Was anyone looking forward to getting a punishment?
Yes. I wanted one so bad. I just thought it would be fun to have the misfortune of having a punishment.
Yeah, I mean, if you had to pick one, what would you pick?
If I had to pick one that would fuck me over real hard, or if I had to pick the best one that I would want.
Either, both, whatever.
Okay, I would have wanted the dancing one. Okay. Because that's easy. I could do that. And then the one that I wouldn't have wanted was having to brush your teeth with something the whole round. That I wouldn't have liked that.
I mean, I was dancing the whole rest of the game.
Apparently, we got called out for that.
Yeah,
Somebody said it was
Hamza.
annoying. Yeah.
Okay, but in all
What else
honesty,
am I supposed to do? I can't stop moving. What do you need me to?
well,
What do you want me to do with my
not only
energy?
that, in all fairness to the people that were watching, because that was the first time they had music, right?
Yeah, we haven't even talked about that yet.
Okay.
This was the debut of the elimination in progress.
So
graphics and music.
from a player standpoint, being in there like stressed out whether you're going to get voted off or not, you are just literally like for me, I'm like a very like I need to move. So I would want to rock. So like if there's music playing, I'm going to jam out to at least get myself like some stress relieved with it. So it's nothing to be like I'm like dancing for the audience or anything.
Yeah, I honestly I challenge whoever plays a future mini to just stay stoic and totally cool with that music is playing. The first couple rounds, I was just like mouthing out like "fuck this," like because the music was just like making my anxiety go like through the roof. It's great music. Whoever wrote the music, it was wonderful.
Yeah,
but it played with my head so much, especially in the rounds where I thought that I was catching votes. Like it was scary. So like once we started dancing it off later on, I was at least able to like go through the motions of like, okay, a vote's happening, it might be me, but maybe it's not. Let's have some fun.
New ringtone.
If I ever see Hamza dancing ever, I'm just gonna start calling him out for it.
It did get old though. After a while, I was like, all right, I'm not.
I was thinking like, oh man, like 7 or 8 rounds in, like especially if you're in a bad position in the game, like you just
I don't want to dance.
when you call a company and you're on hold and you hear the same hold song.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
And honestly, who knows? Maybe Audrey did that intentionally. Maybe that's part of the mind game going on.
Well,
But-
and it's playing on
Do.
got some bad experience with that too.
Wow, you do it on every show. Or
I get around.
Andy, do you have an agent or something?
I don't know. So understand, I'm mostly just a tryhard. I was like really cute when I was little and mildly intelligent. So like that's why Jeopardy happened. And then since then I've just been trying to get on stuff and failing miserably. Survivor, I'm looking.
So we're gonna shout out Will from America who made the music. So go give Will from America a follow. It is pretty catchy music. Have Will from America make music for you for your thing, whatever that may be. Well, after the rumor round, Chelsea, we said goodbye to you.
Rest in peace.
Don't worry, we're not going to say goodbye to you now. I'm not going to send you back. Be around for a little bit. We moved into the final 6, and this was our button twist for the game. The players were presented with a red or green button. They could press the red button and bring it to the game, or press the green button and leave it a conventional voting round. Of course, as with, I would say, 99, if not 100% of all minis, the red button was pressed. People, of course, are always going to say in the chat, always red, always press the red button.
Yeah. If you're in trouble.
Yeah, I wasn't always red, but now I am not.
Well, who pressed? Because there's only 2 of us that pressed red, and I was one of them.
I pressed red. The 2 people on the bottom, we pressed red. That's if you're on the bottom, you press red.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like of all the red punishments, like this one, I mean, this is one of the most complicated rounds I've seen. I still don't know necessarily what would happen in certain aspects, and we'll go into it, but it was very hard to get your head around how to actually strategize this.
Yeah. So Cameron and Alex pressing the button unleashed the second highest number of votes round twist on us, in which, as it sounds, the person with the second highest number of votes would be the one eliminated, which is very hard to navigate. Where were everyone's heads at going into that? Where were you thinking, like, did you have any kind of grasp on how to handle this? How did you execute it, if so? Or how did you stumble into what you ended up doing?
Yeah, so I basically just knew that I at least had me and Alex going for Marquise. I didn't know if anybody else was really going to jump on board with that, but I knew that I could mess up anybody else's plans with my name if I just voted myself. So it was kind of just like a Hail Mary for me. Like, I hope they didn't figure it out. I hope they didn't, you know what I mean? So I kind of got lucky in that sense, but not lucky in the way of just, knowing I needed to vote myself at least. But
yeah.
So yeah.
My plan do we know? We do. We'll get there. Because there was a mistake that I made, or not.
Oh yeah, because y'all two voted each other.
So my whole goal going into that round was, let's get this so that the vote is on 2 people. So when I heard like Cameron and Marquise going at it, and then we all got into the room together, and they were still going at it, I didn't care where the votes fell. I was pretty confident at that point because Cameron had just played an LOS, so I was pretty sure that you didn't have one. Mm-hmm. But I did tell you, like, right before we went to that room, like, Cameron, you know, if we put the most votes on you, you can't play an LOS if you want this plan to work. I don't think that probably fell in the deafest of ears if you had one.
Yeah, I didn't have one.
Okay.
I just played it.
So it was you and Marquise, and I was like, yes, this is where it's going. Let's let them fight. We get into the room together. You guys start fighting, and then when the vote starts, I just wanted to figure out how to plan for every scenario.
Yeah.
And I planned well, but so did Alex.
Yeah.
So,
the thing that I struggled with was Cameron was bringing up Marquise's name, and the rest of the group was bringing up Cameron's name. The two people I was closest to were Cameron and Marquise.
Oh.
Well, that's because the three of us were together, me, Angela, and Shannon.
Oh, yeah. Well, and so I was like, okay, so I'm trying to figure out what's the best move for me. And I knew that going into it, I did not trust that all 5 people, especially with like Cameron coming into the group when she did, was perfect for her game. Because she stopped any conversation from it being her or made it extremely awkward that you'd bring it up in a group setting. So I knew that.
Oh!
Yeah, and then Marquise was just trying to play it off. I loved it. He was so funny. He's like, oh, no, we were going to do a tie. Whatever he said. But so for me, I was like, okay, so I don't trust that everybody's doing what they're saying. And honestly, if anybody is going to flip, I think it's going to be Andy. So I figured I would flip it on to Andy. And in case I was wrong, at least Andy either goes or nobody knows that I voted for Andy.
Okay.
I mean, that was the same logic I had with voting for Alex. It was like, I think that this could work. I think that it could be 3-2. It could be a tie. I don't know what the rule is if it's a tie. So let me vote for Alex because he's the one person whose name hasn't come up that I am not directly aligned with. Damn it, dude! Why are you smart? Also,
sorry.
I mean,
Andy, if you just would have voted Marquise, then I would have gone home.
I know. If I would have just voted you, then Marquise would have gone home. It could have worked. Yeah. Like I fully accept responsibility for voting myself out of this game, which actually, like, I feel a lot better about that because I didn't get blindsided in that way.
You blindsided yourself.
I blindsided myself, but with a move, like the move made on me was a move that I was making. So, like, as much as I played up the theatrics when I left, like, how can you be mad about that? Like, the move I wanted to make got me out. Okay. I tried. I thought it was really smart.
So, yeah, to the people that were asked, I see that somebody was asking about the votes earlier. It was 2 votes for Cameron, 2 votes for Marquise, 1 for me, 1 for Andy. Me and Andy voted for ourselves. Cameron voted for herself, right? Mm-hmm. And then Marquise voted for Cameron. Mm-hmm. And then
Angela and Shannon voted for Marquise.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that there was no, because I mean, usually that's the situation where we get a whole bunch of LOS plays. And my thinking was how more complicated it would get if there were 1 or 2 LOSs that ended up getting played, which I wasn't sure how the votes would actually even work in that situation, but nobody played any, so it didn't really end up being a factor.
Flushed them.
Do we know what would happen if there was a 6-way tie?
Wheel.
Yeah, well, probably a revote and then a wheel if we can't figure it out.
Right.
Yes.
That would have been so.
I'm assuming.
Speaking of not being able to figure it out, Angela killed
me. Oh, yeah, that's also something that
should have been a wheel vote right there.
So Angela voted for me because you're supposed to be voting, even in the tiebreaker vote, you're supposed to vote the person out that you wanted to keep. So that kind of messed with her. Angela wanted me out, but she accidentally voted for me, thinking that she was voting me out. So that pushed me over the edge to make it 3-1 rather than a tie 2-2.
Perfect.
Onto a wheel. So Angela made a mistake there.
Are we 100% sure that Angela made a mistake?
Well, so no, listen.
I know she said it. She said it to us after, but are we sure?
Well, this is what was confusing, is because I was like, okay, well, I'm going to vote Alex because I'm going to keep Alex, right? And then Marquise is like, okay, so if we all vote Andy, then Alex goes home. And I was like, all right. So then I actually, I was like, okay, I'm going to vote Andy then. So then it'll all be on him. And then I was like, no, okay, I'm going to vote Alex. So I was like, I don't know, that doesn't make sense. So I got confused too. Huh?
If it was 4-0, what happens?
I don't know.
I think that
well, I got the second out of between us. I feel like moving forward, this is just my suggestion. Audrey, do whatever you want because it did cause for a lot of confusion. I think moving forward, the tiebreaker should just be a normal vote because that was so confusing to even figure out as players.
Yeah, I mean, and if it was a normal vote, I would have made it up.
But that makes it boring. No.
Yeah, true. But for me, when I was stressing out trying to figure out, I was telling people to vote me out so that they could keep me in. It was so confusing.
Well, you would have gone home if it was a normal vote, so you could be happy about the twist.
Yeah, true. I'm happy.
Well, no, would Alex have gone home? So, Cameron, if it was a normal vote, meaning like, because I'm 99% convinced that Shannon and Angela were going to vote to keep me if they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, so
they
would have voted Alex.
Votes.
I would have voted you to go home.
So what would Marquise have done? Marquise, you're in the chat. What was happening? Would you have voted me out, or would we have a wheel?
I don't know.
Pretty sure he would have voted Alex. So, all right.
Yeah, he said he voted Alex a little earlier in the chat.
Okay.
Pretty sure I voted Alex.
So,
yeah.
Yep.
Anywho. When you're on the bottom, those twists are great.
When you're on,
they
they
are.
aren't.
Only when you're on the bottom, though. That's what's so interesting about this whole gameplay for me, is because like when in the live version, I had the numbers the whole time. So it like now being on the bottom last night, it was so interesting to play in a very like scrappy sort of like survival mode type of way. So it was fun. It was sucked, but it was interesting. It was different.
With the end of the button twist round, Andy, you hopped off to jury.
Yes. Sorry, Andy.
With a bright-eyed smile on my face.
Of course, you had the most humble exit since JC, who was driving.
I do want to say my dad he was like, okay, if Alex stays, then she's gonna win. I'm talking about me. So that was kind of funny. Anyways.
With that, we were down to 5. That brought us to the majority rules game, wherein Marquise ended up being eliminated at the end of that. So let's talk a little bit about that. Did we feel confident going in? I guess I'm talking to the 2 people who are still in at this point. But did we feel confident in the majority game? Were you nervous going into it? And then once the actual game was over, how did we arrive at Marquise?
Okay, so I thought Shannon was the obvious answer people would say just based off of the floater round. And so when me and Cameron were both safe, I was like, okay, thank God. Because I knew that if Cameron was vulnerable, Cameron was going home. If I was vulnerable, there was a chance. I knew I had a good-ish relationship with Marquise, so there was a chance. But honestly, Cameron should explain this round, because I think there's many moves that won her the game, but I think this is one of the biggest moves, because I think if Marquise would have made it to the final 4, it could have been a totally different scenario.
Yeah. Well, so as for the majority, I kind of thought that Angela was a bigger floater than Shannon, honestly. So like I actually had it written down Angela at first, and I was like, no, I scratched it out, and I was like, everybody else is gonna say Shannon, and I'm glad I did that. But then when it was between Shannon and Marquise, I was like, all right. I kind of had this feeling like, okay, if we kept Marquise, he's saying he would drag me. He seems like someone who would stay true to that, but he also seems like kind of a wild card to where maybe he wouldn't. So I was kind of going back and forth with that. But then I don't know. He seemed I don't know. It was too much like he was going to drag me. So I can't really remember what happened, guys.
Well, no, I remember, because what happened was Marquise was saying he was going to drag you. So then you publicly said you were voting for him. And then that's when Shannon revealed her final 2 with Angela.
Right.
And so then Angela's like, well, now that that's out in the open, I have to vote for Marquise as well. And then that's when I was like, okay, well, shit, I have to fight and tell them to vote for.
This is when you started shining, like, for real, because you were like, okay, so who are you guys gonna drag? And I was like, yes, Alex, go, like, let's get these answers.
Well, I saw that in one of the other minis where somebody was, I think it was the streaming mini. I don't remember who asked the question, but I was like, that's a perfect question to ask when you're safe. So I was like, since I'm in the majority, we might as well ask. So I figured I would ask. So that's why I asked them when the final 2 things said, I was like, I need to get Cameron to vote for Shannon, because otherwise we're screwed in the final 4, which ended up not being true. But thank you, Gabe. I
agree. You started running away with it, and I was like, this is great. Like that was great. Great gameplay. Anyways, so yeah, it just turned out it felt to me that Marquise was more of a wild card than Shannon. I don't know. So
I think the other thing there that I thought about is that, both of you, there were 3 people who I thought had a shot to win there, and Marquise getting anywhere near the end, I thought he probably had the best shot as compared to Shannon, who probably didn't have as good of a shot of winning. So, I thought the only answer there was getting Marquise out. And then it seemed like a foregone conclusion, and Shannon almost made it harder for herself by admitting to the Angela thing. Like, she really didn't have to say anything. And that really cost her. It didn't end up costing her, but it could have.
That's actually a good point that you bring up, that I remember thinking too as to why I was possibly going to keep Marquise, is like because he was, like, in my mind, a bit of a stronger player. I thought, okay, I can use this, like, we're all strong players, like, let's not drag strong players. But then he said he was going to drag me, so I felt like he was. So I was
and that's how, selfishly, that's what I was hoping for. I was hoping me, you, Marquise, and Shannon made it to the final 4, because I figured as long as I didn't vote for you or for Marquise, because you guys would probably vote for each other, was my thought, that then it'd come down to Shannon's vote, and that whoever was voted off between you 2 would drag the other. And so I was selfishly like, okay, well, then I have a good chance, because if I'm in Shannon, I think I have a chance to win.
I would have definitely kept final 2 strong, like, regardless. True.
Now at the final 4, let's talk about that. So Marquise went. We had Alex, Shannon, Cameron, and Angela. And where were our heads at going in? Who were you thinking in that round? Did you know who you were going to vote out, and did you know who you were going to drag, or did it take that round to help you get to that point to figure it out?
I knew that I wasn't going to vote Alex, and you said that before I even said that, which I just solidified it more to me. And even though, Alex, I don't think you would have dragged me, and I don't think I would have dragged you either.
I would not have dragged. If you would have voted for me, I would have not dragged you.
Yeah, I know. So, like, as in a strategic standpoint, like, it kind of makes me think, am I being stupid, like, being that loyal to someone? But at the same time, like, it was more of, like, a personal thing for me. Just, like, I wanted to prove that I have that, like, that's the type of loyalty that I have to, my alliances. But, so yeah, I just did not want to budge on that. And then we almost had Angela flipping on Shannon. I think Shannon would have dragged her. We were close.
If we would have had 15 more seconds, I don't think she maybe would have not dragged her, but I think if we would have had 15 more seconds, I think we could have convinced Angela to vote for Shannon, because we asked Shannon, who are you going to drag if Angela votes for you? Or Angela, I think, asked, are you going to drag me? And she's like, well, I don't know. But she didn't say yes. Like, the smart move there is to say yes. So I was shocked that she didn't say yes, because I'm like, okay, well, if we would have had 15 more seconds, because the round cut off right then, I was like, we could have told Angela. She would obviously say yes if she was going to drag you. So I don't know. I feel like we could have. I know.
It was right when we were getting somewhere, we had to vote. And I was like, fuck.
I think the one thing that maybe influenced, or in a negative way, your round there, if you would have looked at, like, the previous conversation, that I think it happened at Final 6, and it had also happened earlier in the game, where Shannon had mentioned that she really did not want to go to a wheel. Like, Shannon was deathly afraid of the wheel. So if you guys would have
tried to flip,
if you would have put your 2 votes on Angela, Shannon would have flipped, I think.
I don't know why we didn't go there. Maybe because Shannon said she wasn't going to vote Angela no matter what. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I think that's what she was the first one to say she was not going to flip on her. And I think she even said she would have gone to a wheel. Or she would have said, she said for a fact that she's not turning on her.
So I think if you guys would have aggressively said Angela or wheel, she votes Angela.
Yeah, probably true. Then I don't know who Angela drags, but I was trying to figure out, because I would have loved it for to be me and Alex in the final 2, just because I feel like it would have been a really good jury. Really, like,
that would have been insane.
Yeah, that would have been really, really fun to battle that out.
In all honesty, I think you still would have taken it, though. If we're just being completely honest.
I don't know.
You had LOSs, and you were more at the bottom than I was.
Yeah, but you had a really strong end game with your questioning and stuff. So I don't know. It would have been fun. It would have been fun to go back.
It would have been fun, definitely.
Yeah.
Alex, you had my vote locked at the final 5. I was voting for you no matter what if you were in the final 2. Once I was gone.
I'll take it then.
Like, you played a really, really strong game.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Agreed.
you.
Well, we can maybe figure it out. So that's 2. Marquis says he votes Alex regardless. Andy, you vote Alex. Chelsea, who would you vote for if it's Cameron?
I gotta ask the questions.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really tough. I loved Cameron's answers in the final 2. When that's what made me vote for Cameron. But I would have had different questions for Alex because I saw more of what Alex did than I did with Shannon. It would be a lot tougher. But
Chelsea, before you answer, you can if you want. I appreciate you saying that you would have to hear the answers because I think that's what juror members should do. I think juror members should have the trial. You shouldn't say your vote is locked in. That actually kind of makes me a little bit upset. But
I understand.
It's not how you play the game, guys. It's not how you play the game.
Why is it that you can submit your vote before the answers are over?
Time. Some people were short.
I guess you should. You technically you shouldn't be able to in any other sort of format.
That usually by that point in the game's gone on 4, 5, 6 hours already, and so Audrey doesn't want to make everyone wait for the minutes afterwards for everyone to vote. I do agree that in an ideal world we would have to wait until after to cast. Though, if that is the reason for it, I kind of understand from that perspective. It's tough.
Yeah. And then can I ask another question to Cameron?
Sure.
So for I was shook when I came in and I saw 3 people from live action Sequester. Are you guys patrons? Did Audrey ask you? Or did you all just randomly sign up together and it was a coincidence that?
No, I didn't know the other 2 were playing. The only person I knew was playing was Drew. And so I was like, okay, sweet. Because I was on the fence about playing. I didn't know if it would be, I knew I would have Target on my back. I didn't, people didn't really receive me very well in my first experience. So I was I don't know if I should do it. But I had reached out to her 2 weeks ago and I was like, hey, I think I want to come in and just try a completely different strategy and whatever, which I didn't actually end up doing. I had to do a different strategy because of how the game went. But so yeah, I am a patron though.
Okay. I just thought that it was super coincidental that the 3 of you who had all been on the same season were just on the same Sequester Mini. And I was
shocked. I was shocked when I saw Hunter. I was oh boy.
And then I saw Andy, I saw Brittany, all people who I've seen before on minis. And I was like, oh shit, I'm not winning this. Oh fuck.
I had the same thought.
I had a good shot.
I didn't know who was a returner and who wasn't. And I remember the first room I was in, I felt bad because Shannon was making this whole comment on oh, well, it's going to be newbies versus vets. And I'm looking around do I count as a vet? I didn't play the live action. I've done 1 mini. Am I a vet? Does that mean anything?
I will say, just speaking as a person who has played before, I understand that we have these reputations or whatever coming into it, but I appreciate that, Alex, you were kind of more open to working with us, but I do think that you guys, or just for everybody out there who's listening, whoever plays with people who've played before, be open to working with people, because Chelsea, I would have gone to final 2 with you easily, and you had a lot of people that were, you have your own game, right? It doesn't matter if we've played before or we haven't played before, right?
Yeah.
Because I've seen Shannon tweeting oh, it sucks that I had to go against someone who's played before. So it doesn't matter. You guys wanted to vote for someone who hasn't played. You know what I mean? But
I actually think that's a strike against you in the final 2 that you've played before.
Yeah.
Getting on your first try is hard.
Right.
That's the thing I tried bringing up in the final speech, though, too, and this is nothing against you, Cameron, but I don't think your past experience outside of the game should affect anything inside the game. You could even Hunter won the Sequester Live game. Great. When I'm going to vote at the end, I'm not going to say, oh, great, you came in here with a target on your back because of that. Or I'm not going to say, oh, people liked you because of that. Vote based off of the moves they made in that game. So that's why I was I knew some people were going to, and I was voting for Cameron anyways when all the questioning was done. But I didn't want people to go in there oh, Cameron played the best game just because she had a target coming on her back from.
Well, but then again, by not working with us, you create those targets.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I when I said that it was weird earlier, the thing that scared me was that the 3 of you were on the same season, so you have an established relationship. That was the thing that was very frightening to me. And then Andy, you said that you played with Brittany S before.
So I did play with Brittany S before. Now we didn't work together at all in our original game. And when she got voted out, she really kind of tanked me because she was trolling. We had a twist where when you got voted out, you became a ghost. So I didn't vote Brittany out, but Brittany turned the people left in the game against me. And also, I was on the bottom and didn't realize it. Like, it was a whole thing. But, like, Brittany and I were never together there. So here, we, like, agreed to work together.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you've seen them before, so
It's a familiar
you have
face.
that established connection.
Yeah.
And then, like, me coming in, I've never done anything like this ever. And, like, I'm not very vocal in the community just because, like, I'm a little bit shy. So, like, I thought it was, I know,
right? What?
Like, as soon as the camera goes off, I'm just gonna like sit and be quiet for the rest of the day and not do anything. But like, that's just what scared me. Like, I'm not as well connected, so I didn't think that I was gonna have, like, I knew that I needed to turn it on immediately because I didn't have connections.
I wonder if it's like an individual perception thing, because I felt like I was like a teeny tiny puppy in an arena with wolfhounds. Like, I thought for sure when we saw even someone like Angela, I was threatened by, because I know that Angela was incredibly likable on her last mini. Like, and she was in my starter room. So I'm looking at her, I'm like, I think I want to work with her, but I was scared of her. And then, like, when the game started and I see, like, Hunter's here and Cameron's here, and these are people whose games I know nothing about because I'm a brand new fan, I was like, well, I'm working with Angela now because she's at least the devil I know. But it was really, like, it was scary. And I think that part of the onus then became on me as the game went on. Like, I had to really hold my own. I think, Chelsea, you did a really good job with that, just, like, establishing that, no, you came to play too.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, our votes all count the same. Our alliance-making power is equal. We're all talking to the same people. So it's like, things are level, but those preconceived notions might either instill fear or cause you to overplay. So it's like, you have to balance that.
And with Angela specifically, the thing that tipped me off about her was she used the exact same line in her introduction that she did in the last mini that she played. Like, the I'm only here to get Taryn's attention. And that's such, like everybody who listens to RHEP knows who Taryn is. So, like, we automatically are like, oh, I remember that. So then when I heard that, I'm like, oh, Angela's back. She's using the same line. She's probably going to play a pretty similar game just because, like, she didn't switch it up in her video. And that, I kind of feel like, I mean, I really don't remember much about Angela's game, but I wasn't, like, with her.
Yeah. I just remember the chat really liking her that night. She was, aw.
Well, so final two. Cameron versus Shannon. There we go. Is there any particular juror questions that stood out to you? Any answers that stood out to anyone as having been a really good answer, or maybe a questionable answer from either of our final two? Or just really good. Or really good. If have any questions.
So I was like getting my, like, fuel pumps ready while I was backstage, just, like, ready to go in.
No.
Guys, I promise I'm nice-ish. I'm nice adjacent. When Hunter asked his question, and he was like, "Who doesn't deserve to get a vote tonight?" I was a little bit peeved that neither of you guys just, like, committed. So
that's the stupidest question I've ever heard.
It's not, though, because there's a rationale here. When you're on the jury, what I want to see from the finalists is they both got to the end. They played different games. They got there, and they earned the spot. And at that point, it's a level playing field, right?
But with that same logic, though, I know where you're going with this, but I need to interrupt. With that same logic, everybody that gets to the jury earns their spot on the jury to vote. So that's why I hate that question.
Absolutely. No, I'm not saying that someone on the jury didn't deserve to vote. But what I want to see from the finalists is I want to see you doing everything you can in answering your questions to make you sound like you got there in a more impressive way, or that you got there in a more confident way, that maybe you could burn a juror and you'll still get votes. Or maybe you can play into what the jury is thinking. I wanted to see what you would say there.
I just thought about it, and if I was in the final two, I think I do have an answer to that question. Can I answer it? Because it's Andy. I would say Andy wouldn't. But the reasoning behind Andy not getting a vote is because I feel like he wouldn't vote for me, so I'm taking
And
it.
that's a way to game that answer. That's a way that doesn't offend me, shows me that you're thinking about the game, and probably actually wins you my vote in that instance. If that were my question, yeah.
I mean,
if I say like
you would have contrasted, I still would have said Andy.
I mean, I'm still gonna key your car, but like,
Yeah, no, like both of our cars need to go.
like, do
to
not
the
come
body
on my
shop,
block.
Like,
But, like,
Nah, I still think it's stupid.
I want to see you keep playing the game until the last minute.
I get the purpose of it. I just still stand by the fact like it's like you can get the passion and the fight.
What does that have to? It's like, what does that have to do with our games? It doesn't have anything really to do with our games. Like,
but the game's not over. At the final two, the game's not over, and I think that's the thing that happens a lot. People are like, they're looking back, they're reflecting. The jury comes in, oh, congratulations, you guys both played good games. No, they are currently playing good games.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how they play.
TR, I know you made a joke about my lighting earlier, and you said that we should do a daytime mini, but I honestly think that it would be really interesting to see a daytime mini, because by 1 o'clock, I'm dead. Like, I just can't. By 8 o'clock, I'm dead. Like, I was already like one White Claw in, ready to go to bed, and I knew by like right before jury, I was like, oh shit, I gotta sober up or I'm going home. But like, I think it would be really interesting to see a final two speech when like everybody, the jury, we're all awake.
See, I think
shout out to Jonathan a few minis ago who played at 5 a.m. in Israel.
See, and I think that was by the end of the mini, wasn't it? So he was like, playing at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. or something. Also, JC was playing at like 2 or 3 a.m. in Singapore. Like it's rough.
I think it's super interesting though if they did a mini that started at like 10 a.m. and it went full day. So like each round was like an hour. Like I know that's a lot, and I don't know if Audrey would ever want to host that, but imagine like a full day game where you're like actually have the time to like strategize and go around and talk to everybody each round.
Oh my
It'd be
God.
exhausting.
DoorDash would hate me.
Try 3 days or 5 days. Sorry. Oh, that shit was nuts.
Now, I know, Andy, you kind of got a little bit of flack in some places online. A lot of bit of flack for how you came across in your jury questioning, and I know that you had a Facebook post in the Sequester community, kind of addressing this a little bit. But I thought I'd like to give you a moment to talk about this. I know some people thought that you came off way too aggressive and hard in your questioning, and that you even came off as misogynistic. And so let's talk about that. What do you have to say?
Yeah. So first thing, above all else, I want to make sure that it's clear that everything I said and did throughout the evening and now in the follow-up has been in the spirit of this game. I think that this game is phenomenal. I think that Audrey has done an incredible service to all fans of competition reality TV to make this community where not only we're able to watch this show that can be continuously produced during quarantine, but that we can even participate in as players. I'm like super thankful that I've had a chance to play twice. I'm super thankful that I've had a chance to do really well twice. And because of that, I want to make sure that I give everything I've got to this game. And like I said just now when I was arguing with Cameron, I firmly believe that the game is not over until the winner is crowned. So I want to, before I address the comments, I just want to be clear that anything that I said, especially in my final two speech, was designed to get a rise, to get a fight, and to get a conversation going between the finalists. I realize that I didn't give either of you a chance to speak during my questioning, but I was definitely listening afterwards, and it came up because it lingered. I want my questions to have an impact, and I don't want to ask the same question everyone always asks. You don't want to be like, what was your biggest move? I want to make you think, maybe you burned me. I was not mad at all, but if I could play up that I was, how is that going to affect your opinion of your own game? How is that going to affect your defense? Let's make this challenging because it's a game and it's hard to win, and let's make it hard to win. And I am firm that I would have done that had I seen a final two comprised of any combination of human being, right? Men, women, cis, LGBTQ, friend in the game, enemy in the game. No matter what happens, if you put me on a jury, I'm going to ask a question that's going to try to make you fight. So that was the intention. That was what I want. Now, I am big enough of a man to realize that sometimes the words that come out of my mouth don't always go into people's ears the way that I thought they did. And that's something that we all deal with. I have already done this in private and in public on social media, but I will apologize again to Shannon if there was anything that I said that sounded as if I was belittling her as a human, that I was being misogynistic. I think I said the word balls, and that was bad. I recognize that guys, we're in like a blackout mode, and I was exhausted too. So like, I fully acknowledge that I might not have been a perfect human in that moment. And I don't have any problem with being criticized for asking a long-winded jury question because I spoke for way too much, or for not giving them a chance to speak because it seems like I wasn't listening to what they had to say. But the only thing that I actually have a problem with is being called a misogynist. Because I think that goes way beyond the scope of this game. Not only has Audrey created this amazing community, but it is a community that is inclusive of people of all backgrounds, all sexual orientations,
well, I hate women,
all genders.
so.
Okay, and Cameron even hates women, and I didn't vote for her. So, like, look at that. Score for women from me.
Good thing I'm only a 12-year-old surfer boy, because
yeah, so
Cameron, next time, you and me, I got you.
Come on.
So my point in saying all of this is I am an ally of any community that you could imagine, but when I play Sequester, I want to play the fucking game of Sequester with gusto. And if that ends up with me winning, that's ideal. And if it doesn't end up with me winning, I'm going to do what I can to make it hard, because otherwise it's no fun. So, again, Cameron, if there was anything I said that was offensive to you, or if the fact that I didn't let you speak was offensive, I apologize. I apologize to Shannon if you're watching this. But at the end of the day, guys, I want to see more people bring in fight to these jury questions, and maybe we'll be more awake at the
I'm
end
just
of
going to be
games.
completely blunt with you because that's how I am. I think you're just kind of being like a little, I think you're like, you got to humble yourself a little bit. You're being kind of a prick. I don't know. I think you were kind of a prick then. I don't know. Just the way that you're talking, and it's like you're smarter than everybody else, and I don't really appreciate it. So that's just kind of how I feel.
I'm sorry that you feel that way, but we can have that conversation.
I gotta get that off my chest.
I'm glad you said it. I can work on that. That is constructive criticism that we can discuss, right? Things I said did not come across the way that I meant them to. We can work on that.
Yeah.
But there's a big
like,
difference.
Like you saying, I just wanted some fight. It's like, okay, well, we're not fighting. I mean, you know, I kind of felt like I was fighting, but I guess maybe not to you, Andy. So, right. You know, so
to me, you weren't, which is why I tried to draw that out. To me, you weren't. That was, and that's, as a juror, that's my time. Every juror gets that time.
I had to bring the drama in here, you know, guys.
Look, at the end of the day, just remember it's a game, guys. Everything I was doing was game. Everything Cameron was doing was game. And I'm going to stop there.
I do think the last part of that is definitely a part that I would like to segue into. We see it time and time again, not just this mini.
Right.
People go home pre-jury, people play hard, people come in with plans and strategies, and so often a lot of that falls to the wayside. Things happen that we don't expect. The game brings out something in us that maybe isn't always the best or the most polished or whatever, but at the end of the day, it is a game. And for the players, for the audience, try to remember that if you're playing and you go home pre-jury, it's not an attack on your character. No. It might be an attack on your gameplay. It also very well could be it was a random twist or just how things worked out. There's so many times where people go home not to no fault of their own. So if you're a player and you go out, it's just a game, come back, play again, play harder, play better, you got it. If you're an audience member watching, try and keep in mind that this isn't like Big Brother, where if you're watching live feeds, you can more or less freely talk without the players knowing because they're in the house so long. This is a one-night game that's a few hours long, where a lot of the players are excited to see how the audience felt about them. And a lot of them do end up going through the YouTube live chat and seeing all of the comments. So if you're watching this, of course, as a fan of reality TV, I am guilty of my fair share of screaming at the TV and being like, come on, what are you doing? It's so obvious to the viewer what to do. It's very different when you're in the game, so try and keep that in mind. There's a lot these players don't know. There's a lot of context that you have that they don't, and just try and be constructive. If you're going to criticize a player, try and keep it about the game.
Right.
And keep it constructive. Don't use it as a platform to really demean or be toxic. Don't tag the players. Just don't. If you have something to say it. Add to the dialogue. If you're not contributing in a constructive way, maybe keep it to yourself or text a side group chat or friend. Not necessarily every thought you have always has to go into the main public chat. Filters in our minds, so just try and keep that in mind. Do you guys have any thoughts that you want to add on to that?
I will say that, like, that entire concept was the reason that I didn't immediately apply to be on. Like, I was terrified. And like, even last night after the show was over, like, I didn't want to look at social media because like, like I said, like, I'm very shy. Like, I come from a small town with not a lot of people in it. So I'm not very big on social media. So like, I was very scared to see what everybody would say about like everybody, including myself.
Yeah.
And look,
it's definitely such a scary thing to put yourself out there. And Andy, I literally was where you were on the live version. I was a better juror. I was like, so I kind of want to just put that out there too. Whenever we get in this competitive mode, especially when you're at the end, like you get like blinders on sometimes. And so like people don't get that who are just watching. And so I totally get that too.
Right. And I'm also like, I'm so open to the criticism of my game. I'm so open to criticism of my game. And I can tell you, I went through Twitter last night and I read everything whenever anyone said something about my game or they wanted me out or whatever. And that's cool. You can have that opinion.
Right.
Just like, guys, there are so many actual misogynists in the world who are getting ahead by abusing people from minority groups or marginalizing women or whatever. Spend your energy on them. That ain't me.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, preach at you guys too much, but I think that to go along with like the whole community conversation, that's one of my favorite aspects of this game. Not even just the game aside, is the community that it's fostering and the community that it's building of just passionate fans of reality competition, of strategic competition. And one of my favorite things to see are players, past and present, coming together after a mini, whether they were fans of each other or whether they disliked each other. I think it's so excellent to see people in the Facebook group, to see people corresponding on Twitter, to see people in the Discord, which is not in the Sequester Discord. I'll be dropping a link in the chat before this stream is over. It's so great to see people coming together and opening up a dialogue and saying, hey, I didn't like your move, or, hey, I didn't like this, but there's always next time, or here's how you could do it better. We should remember that we are all here because we are all fans of more or less the same thing. We all kind of fit into the same niche of interest. So we should remember that we're all more alike than dissimilar at the end of the day. And just try and keep that in mind.
To build on that, and I've said this before, it's that, there's a very limited forum where people can compete in these kind of things, right? Like, we watch it so much, and we watch Survivor, we watch Big Brother, and we think of being on it, but there's very few people who will ever be able to do that. And we're allowed a venue where we can actually participate and actually, live out on these, dreams that we have of actually playing the game and see how we can do, which is really a blessing. And I'm happy to be able to participate with other people and get to know them to do it.
And going off of that, I think because we've had so many minis so far, like, we're getting to a point where a lot of people are playing again. And like, Sequester, as it evolves, like, I feel like a lot of people will just keep coming back and keep playing because it's just so much fun. And then we're going to get to a point where it's like just another social strategy game. Like, I don't know if anybody's played Secret Hitler, but like, I tried, like, that it's a card game.
I've heard of it, actually.
It's really fun. And like, that was my main build off of strategy for coming into Sequester. But like, it'll just feel as natural as pulling a board game off a shelf, signing up for a mini. And I'm excited for that.
When your family plays Monopoly, sometimes someone gets pissed off and throws the board off the table. But at the end of the day, you're still family.
It's 4:00 in the morning, Grandma. No, thank you.
You win! Thank you for the ticket. It's in the Baltic with crap!
as we start to kind of wind down here a little bit, if you guys have any last minute questions, observations, thoughts that you want to ask these players while we have them here, definitely now is the time to do so. Any final thoughts from you four? Anything that we haven't talked about that we should touch on before we wrap a bow up on this game?
Andy, if you were to date a former Big Brother winner, who would it be?
Oh, man. See, okay, I want to be clear, too. When I first did that rumor, I was thinking about a buddy that I have who actually has dated a former Big Brother winner. But we'll keep that on the down low for several reasons. But if I could date a former winner, it's got to be a winner?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I don't have a ton of choices, but Nicole Franzel is my type, but she's taken. So
in a perfect world.
In a perfect world, Nicole Franzel.
Casey's
I like the way how she says the word, but
I said Casey earlier.
So we have a question for you, Cameron. Cameron, if you got wheeled out, who would you have dragged?
Probably Angela. Probably Angela.
Can we talk about Alex's awesome jury question? Let's talk about it a little bit. What were your thoughts on that? How did you come up with that question?
Well, what was it again? Remind me.
It was so awesome that Cameron forgot it.
I was all a blur.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time. I asked, it was about the motto of games and how I think you should follow the motto. And, it's trust, or Sequester's motto is trust us, trust no one.
Where did you learn that, by the way? Because I had no idea Sequester had a motto until you said that last night.
It's in the thingy.
Well, and I don't know if it's a mini one or if it's just the live game motto, but yeah, it's just there in the logo. So my whole thought process is if I was ever in Survivor and on a jury, I hate that when they ask the question, how did you outwit, outplay, and outlast us? You showed that by getting to the end. So I always thought if I was in the jury, I would want to ask the final three or final two, how did you outwit, outplay, and outlast the people you're sitting next to? Because that's what you're trying to figure out is between the two of them or three of them, who's the better winner. So for me, I wanted to figure out who did the better job of not trusting anyone. Or if they went against that motto, why did they use that logic of going against the motto?
That's cool.
I didn't realize it was trust us, trust no one. I thought the S in the sign was just a little squiggly line. I thought it was just trust you, but it was just the letter U. I can't believe I didn't.
I don't even trust Sequester bot, so.
No. You're gonna throw fake rounds at us.
We have another comment here for you, Alex. Alex, how did you improve your intro video this time compared from first game to not be an early boo?
Okay, so my logic with this was literally just emphasize the fact that I was a flop. Because when you look back to Francesca and Survivor, nobody wants to see Francesca. If Francesca were to play a third time, nobody wants to see her go out early again. So my thought process is if I really emphasize the fact that I was out early, that hopefully people
worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was really honestly, as long as I can get past that point, I didn't want that to be a huge thing that I was emphasizing in the game that much, but I know those videos have a big impact. So if people, all they remember from me is that I flopped, they could either think that either A, they want me to at least do better than last time if they're good people, or B, that they thought I was a bad player and that I could potentially prove them wrong.
That worked perfectly because there were people coming out after you early, and I was like, no, I don't think we can. Let's keep him around, And at a certain point too, before we had actually connected, it was people were going for you, and I was like, okay, well, he's made it pretty far, So that's funny. It totally worked.
Another question from Gabe. Thanks, Gabe, for all the questions. Chelsea at Final 7 with LOS. Do you think the right play is to save it for Final 6, even if it didn't work out for you? Is it worth the risk? I think we touched on this a little bit, but do you want to?
I think we did touch on this a little bit. My ideal was that I had both of my LOSs until Final 7 and Final 6, but Andy, my mistrust for him led me astray on that. Mm-hmm. I really think it depends on where you're positioned. If you think that you're going to make it through the Final 7, definitely save your LOS until the Final 6. Because just in case there are so many LOSs in the Final 6, you could get idled out over nothing. That was what I was afraid of. And honestly, in my opinion, I think the right play would have been play at Final 7 because I needed it. But if
So
I
hard to know
wasn't
when you need it.
if I wasn't the one to go home, then I definitely would say saving it would be the strategy. But at the same time, I've only played once. So.
Well, it looks like that might be it for the questions. Any other final thoughts from you guys?
I had a blast playing with you guys. Y'all were great. You had me fooled. Seriously. So, Alex.
I honestly, coming in, I never thought I would have aligned like to the end with somebody that had played the live version. So it was cool. It was just fun to play a second time and redeem myself. I feel like it's easy to look back and be like, oh, I should have done things differently. But even though I got third, I'm like, I am very proud of the game I played. So I'm
you should be.
And I'm very thankful for all the like very kind comments I've got. I was surprised that there was that many people watching, let alone that passionate to reach out and comment. It means a lot.
You're in the hero category now, Alex, I think.
Thank you.
This is the first time that I'm like actually noticing and realizing that I'm the only person that's on this call right now who's like, this is my first time. Like, TR, you've played. Louie, I really don't know you that well. I'm sorry.
Louie has won before.
Okay, so yeah, you know what you're doing. And then obviously Andy, Alex, Cameron, like, but I'm just so happy that I got this experience in the first place. Like, I would love to come back and like, I've just been itching to do something because we've been locked inside. And like, I'm still on campus. Like, I didn't have an opportunity to go home. So I've been like by myself at school this whole time. And I'm like, I had a blast.
I'm sure you'll play again. You did really, really good.
Thank you, Cameron.
And I will say for anybody who either has played a mini or who is thinking of playing a mini.
Boy.
after having done this twice as like an under the radar game and as a more aggressive game, playing aggressive is so fucking fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it's scary every minute, but you have so much more agency. You feel like you're fighting, and it's awesome. So like, I support people who play under the radar games and pull it off. But if you're thinking, how am I going to have the most fun playing this game? You're probably going to enjoy it a lot more if you take all those risks. And if you're not me, the audience will also like that.
I agree with that.
Well, thank you so much, guys. Do any of you have any social media or any way for our followers to keep in touch with you after the game, after the show?
I have a Twitter. It's at Medicinal Leeches, but it's one L, and leeches is spelled like leeches from the ground because it's an anagram of Chelsea. So, and I also have an Instagram, and it's just leeches _ spelled the same way.
I'm only public on Twitter, but that's at Andy Vogel. Andy spelled the normal way. Vogel is VOGL with no letters in between the G or the L.
And I really don't. I mean, like, you can follow me if you want, but I don't really post a whole lot of stuff. It's Alex Wegner 95.
Yeah, like, I'm not active on social media like much.
So, I'm not really.
I mostly live tweet Survivor, and now that ain't happening for a while.
Yeah, I think I tweeted the other day, like, I just spaced out and stared at a 40-minute YouTube ad for 20 minutes. Like, that's my content.
_ Cam Olsen. But thank you guys for inviting us on here.
Yeah, I had a blast, honestly.
Yeah,
awesome.
It was really fun.
Half my goal in playing again was to just like make it far enough in the game to make it onto the podcast. So like,
I didn't even know that was a goal. I did it.
This is my family visit, guys.
Awesome.
Wow. Well, you did it. You definitely did that. Louie, your rank and rate on Twitter, is that right? You haven't changed?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Nope, still there. We're over 100 followers. No, we did it.
We
guys.
did it. We
Thank
finally got Louie to 100 followers.
Sequester community.
You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Byte at TR Conradi. I'm going to be going solo for just a second here, guys, but please don't leave just yet. Don't forget that one mini might be down, but we still have the rest of our action-packed, supersized weekend going on. Continuing tonight with our 500 Patreon celebration all-stars hero versus villains game, which is going to be going on at sequesteraccess.com/live feed. You can go to the live feed tab. We have videos here on how to play it, explaining it. We have a leaderboard down here with our winners so far, and then where the actual game is going to be happening is down here. So tune in tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you will see some hand-chosen all-stars by Sequester Bot. Who's it going to be? Who's going to be a hero? Who's going to be a villain? Only time will tell. But
Speaking of Patreon, please, if you're watching, become a member on the Patreon. We are celebrating 500 patrons with the All-Star Game, but we're actually about to hit 600 patrons. So I think Bill in the chat said that we have 10 left to go. So make sure you show your support for Audrey, and this community that she's created. It's as little as $3 a month. God, I know we're just her. $3 a month. And you yourself could find yourself playing a game and on this podcast, like Andy said. So do that because it is a lot of fun. It's a great way to show your support. Well, with that, guys, we're going to be signing off. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with players from tonight's mini to go over everything from the All-Stars game.
Yes.
But until then, see you later.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Touch your face. Yes, that's